Shared meeting notes are a wonderful tool. We have people that are joining us online and people that can't make it. So as we go through this day, is there are things that pop up in your mind of like, ooh, I really think that's important to me. Maybe it's important to everyone. If you don't mind using this to type your notes of what your thoughts are, and then we can all share our thought process together. It's a shared Google document. And so yes, if you go here, this will give you all of the information. A lot of the links that we'll be using today, that's how you'll be able to get to them. So I'm going to zoom back out.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna be sharing the slides on the video.
When you get here, by the way, because we're joining with math today, math is down in the basement. We'll come together as a whole here in a bit, probably right before or after lunch. But in the meantime, we're all using this document. So there's math stuff on there, there's science stuff on there, there's all kinds of stuff. So if you haven't already on this thing, if you don't have this view page open, it's going to be helpful for you. Go to view in the top right corner, and then you click on show document outline. On that, you can slide your way through real easily and get down to the science parts of this meeting. Never mind. You'll notice really fast, most of you hopefully, by the way, signed in or signed up for this meeting through Midas. If you hope to get credit, they've created this wonderful way for you to sign in digitally to show that you are here either online or face-to-face. So, and that's by clicking on this digital sign-in link. So if you click there, there's a little form saying, yes, I was here, and then we'll award your relicensure points based on that. So make sure you spend some time there. For those who can't, oh, thank you.
Well, it's online, I just said it.
Oh, so it's dumb. I can just throw this one away.
We're just moving forward. So
slides are finally up for those of you joining us online. At the very bottom, that's the link to the page that we're all talking about right now. So it's bit.ly/SMSECC notes 20-1. I see Danielle Kennedy laughing at me in the back because she knows how much I love Bitly. So, with that, I'm going to plug that in.
Yep.
And we'll get started. So we already did our welcomes. Quick announcements. I was given, if you walked in, if you haven't seen them on that back table, there are a couple flyers. If you haven't gotten them, there are two amazing opportunities specifically meant for everyone in the state. So if you're one of our rural teachers and sometimes you feel like, oh, the cool stuff's happening here and I never get to participate, now's your chance. The Huntsman Cancer Institute has received a really generous grant that is going to provide opportunities for both students and teachers to go and do research with their researchers, the scientists there. And there's what that paper is, it's kind of some information about it. I put here this, it's really unclear on this, but if you go to the shared notes, it's a lot better. If you click on those, if you're online and you can't see the handouts we're handing you, click on those links on the shared meeting notes as you get to the announcement section, right there on that very first page in the science section. The handout, the first one is just the flyer that if you want to get this information out to the teachers in your district or your charter school and start putting these flyers everywhere, please print them, send them all over the place, get teachers to sign up. The second link is some more information about it with more details. Just so you know, for the teacher perspective, it's a 6-week internship where you go and pretty much can live at the University of Utah. They have room and board. They have a possibility of like childcare help. Like it's like they're trying to limit any possibility of like if I can't make it for whatever reason, like no, you can make it. Plus for a 2-year in a 2-year process, I guess you sign up to do this for 2 years. So you do it one summer for I think 5-6 weeks, do another summer for another 5-6 weeks. And I think that says that they're gonna pay you like $10,000 a summer to do this. So I mean, like it's a really cool opportunity to go do research. They're really trying to build teacher capacity. There's also another one, by the way, for students. Same kind of opportunity, not as much pay and not as long. but give students opportunities to go in and do research there at Huntsman Cancer Institute. So, amazing opportunity. Look into that. If you have questions, look for an email that's gonna be coming from me with contact information about that. The other thing that I think I put on our shared meeting notes is specific to the USTA conference that's coming up. Because NSTA happened this year, yeah, there it is. So there's the links to the, on the shared notes for those who are in the room. But the second thing is USTA, because NSTA was here, they're not allowed to have their normal conference that they have in early February. And so because of that, they were told you can do regional conferences. I'm putting air quotes up. And the reason why is because they don't want competition with teachers and whatever. So we signed that contract. So the USTA for the first time are going to be doing some regional professional learning that happens. They have 2 different sessions set up on Saturdays. One is on February 22nd in Cedar City, and the other one's on February 29th. So if you, it's pretty much a full day full of information specific to these SEED standards. So if you have teachers that are new or maybe haven't yet had the opportunity to do this, or maybe they have, but they want to learn more, please try to see if you can get your teachers to sign up for this. The cost is not that expensive. I don't remember what it is, but I want to say it's like under $50. Yeah, like it's $30. So again, the main purpose is to get those more rural regions, and that's why they're kind of on the edges, both in Cedar City and then up in Ogden. So, but anyone's invited to come. They're not just for people in that area. But their plan is to have 2 different sessions. If you are brand new to 3-dimensional science and would like some information about that, they have a strand for you, right, in each of your grade bands. If you have done this and you're more at the intermediate level and you're like, okay, I've seen this before, they're gonna have a strand for that as well to kind of maybe bump up your understanding in that way. So, great opportunities there. We're gonna turn the time over. That took a lot longer than I should have.
Hello, everyone. With the new SEED standards coming online, we wanted to make sure that you were aware of all the resources and supports for teachers and for students. And one of those is the IC program, which is the Informal Science Education Enhancement. We have wonderful members in our IC group. So each of our meetings this year, some of them are coming. So today we have 3 that are coming. They'll tell you what grades they support and what they offer to help students and teachers better understand the science concepts. So first we have today Angelina from Hogle Zoo. She'll tell you a little bit about what they offer so that you know how you can use the resources to help your teachers and students.
All right, so hi guys. I'm Angelina Kump. I work at UTAS Hogle Zoo. I'm their lead for teacher professional development. So guess what my job is? So we do focus mostly on 2nd grade. We have a 2-year rotation. We visit every 2nd grade classroom in the state on a 2-year rotation. If you are out of the Wasatch Front, we can come to you every year. If you're on the Wasatch Front, we do every other year. My information is in the notes, so if you need to contact us to schedule stuff, that's where you can find that. Our program is based on Utah habitats, so we come with some things the kids get a hands-on discovery of kind of which things make up a wetland, which things make up a desert, and why. And then we bring animals to the classrooms and kind of talk about adaptations, and the kids make observations, try to figure out which habitat those animals would live in.
This is all based on, they select specific SEED standards, so you're getting support for those SEED standards.
We also do teacher workshops. Right now we have 3. Next year we will hopefully have a couple more. We're working on some really cool opportunities that are based on the SEED standards and really hands-on and kind of phenomenon-based things, but we are working on them. They're in the process of being created. But right now we do offer Growing Up Wild. That's a workshop for K-2 teachers. It's getting kids outside. I align all of the activities in the curriculum book to the new SEED standards. So all teachers get a handout of how those align. Project Wild is kind of the same thing but for older students. It goes K through 12. I'm doing the same thing with those. We're aligning all of those activities to the new SEED standards and how to best apply them and maybe what needs to be added to them to make them so they really fit in really well. And then I have a 6th grade teacher workshop that is planting the seeds of conservation. It is lesson plans that are based on the conservation work the zoo does. So it's a fun way to tie in things that are not only interesting animals, but things that are happening here in Utah as well. And it just talks about the 6th grade life science strand, and it goes into detail pretty hard with those. We also spend a lot of time on zoo grounds trying to figure out how to find phenomenon, because they don't have to be phenomenal. So we do that as well. We also have teacher resources. We have teacher kits that are available at the zoo. You do have to be able to come to the zoo to get them and bring them back, but they can be checked out for 2 weeks at a time. We have a list on our website of ones that are pre-made. But if you have ideas of things you really want to teach, we can make a custom one as well. Just give it a little bit of extra time so we can find those things and work with you to make sure that that's what you want. We do offer field trips. They are free admission to the zoo as long as you have our requirements for like chaperone to kid ratios and things like that. We have distance learning. We can Skype in our classroom to your classroom. So that way you don't have to come to us. I know that's difficult and we don't always have to come to you because we get booked pretty fast with our outreach. So if you want that, we can do that as well. It's really cool. We have some really cool cameras. So we have like a really awesome document cam so you can zoom in and see a salamander better than you can see with your own eyes. That's kind of a neat thing. We also have special needs opportunities as well. So the only other outreach we do right now is for special need classrooms. So we do a lot with that. And I think that is me.
Great, thank you, Angelina. Another one of our IC members is the Leonardo, and Rachel's going to tell us about what they have to offer for teachers and students.
Hi, good morning. Please excuse me. I'm sorry I sound a little sick, but as you know, it's January, so I'm sure you're feeling it too. My name is Rachel. I'm from the Leonardo, right across the street. If you haven't been to visit us, stop by. It's really fun. We serve 7th and 8th grade predominantly through our outreach, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. It is our mission to fuse science and technology and art and innovation all together to bring it into one big, beautiful picture, just like the man Leonardo da Vinci did. He used art as a way to understand the world, and we try to find different ways that we can create these different connections to make it a multidisciplinary approach to understanding. But our major focus when we do our outreach is on physics. We predominantly do 7th and 8th grade, and with our 7th graders, we talk about Newton's laws of motion. I like to call it Scootin' Newton because we get them on scooters and we talk about the first, second, and third law and then we demonstrate it. And for our 8th grade outreach, we talk about waves and different types of waves, and then we create a vocal visualizer that allows them to play with amplification and different things with waves. We try to make physics as easy to approach as possible and make it something that's interesting and fun and engaging for the kids. And we get a lot of kids that are like, wow, I really like this. I didn't know this was science. And that's really fun. The last thing that we do is we take all of this forces in motion and we combine it into a Rube Goldberg challenge that really gets kids working and innovating and trying new things where they have to fail because Rube Goldberg challenges don't always work. It's one of those machines where like something happens and then it starts a chain reaction and they have to work collaboratively and together, and it's something that we're really proud of and really enjoy. It's kind of like a touchstone for us, but this is our way that we try to make science accessible. We are on a 3-year rotation with the state of Utah, so if we haven't hit you yet or if you're interested, you can email me. Laura kindly put my contact information on the note sheet, and you can take a look there. And we are trying to get to as many classrooms as possible and increase our outreach this year. For teacher professional development, it is in the works. We're trying to find new ways that we can make physics easy to understand and approach. So keep an eye out for that.
So do we have to schedule you, or do you just have a rotation and then, because some places we get notified it's your turn and
We try to do our outreach, but we are also at a point where we are trying to grow and expand our program. So if you are interested in having us come, please email us and then we'll absolutely reach out back to you. We do have that like rotation where we have to go to like these certain areas during this time to make sure that we stay on track. But if you haven't heard from us and you're interested in hearing from us, please reach out. We want to hit as many schools as possible.
Thanksgiving Point does something with us regularly, but I didn't know you did that.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm glad that we got to be
No,
here
we-
today to share
no,
that.
We go to Leonardo every year as a field trip, but I didn't know about this other part.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad that you got to know about this. And we're trying to spread our word. This is the Leonardo on Wheels is what we call it. It's called LOW, and it's actually how we started. And our museum started as this Leonardo on Wheels, and then it became a museum. So we're really excited that you come to us on field trips. We do also offer field trips. We predominantly serve K through 5th there, but our museum is really easy to have a lot of fun in. And I've had adults come and say they've learned things, so that's really cool too. Did you have a question?
For your outreach
Mhm.
that you're doing, how far are you willing to go?
We go throughout the entire state of Utah. So all the way up and all the way down. We'll go anywhere.
All the way west?
All the way west,
Okay.
all the way east. All the wicked witches can have us come visit. Yeah, please, if you haven't heard from us and you want to have us come visit you, please reach out because we're trying to expand our outreach as much as possible. So, thank you. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And I'll add really fast that's all our IC groups, by the way. They are funded to go to every corner of the state. So that goes back to what Angelina was saying with the Hogle Zoo and same with what Laura was saying. So.
And their whole job is to support you, so use them.
Yes.
Contact them, use them, okay? And then our last spotlight for this meeting is Discovery Gateway. And Laura is going to tell us, they have some amazing things that they do there.
SSECC.
So I'm Laura Cotter. I'm the Senior Manager of Education at Discovery Gateway. So as you can imagine, we are the Children's Museum. Our focus is on early childhood up to about 5th grade. Our mission is to inspire children of all ages and abilities to imagine, discover, and connect with their world to make a difference. And one of the ways we do that is through all of our educational programs. So this is basically my entire job, all the things I oversee. There's a lot of other stuff on there besides what we do through the IC program, but we're just gonna talk about the IC stuff today. Oh, that's really small, but it's on your slide, so you can see it too. So our outreach education program, we have 2 programs. The first is Reaction Time. It covers the 5th grade matter unit. We mostly focus on states of matter and physical and chemical changes and the difference between the two. It is still on the old standards, but it will be on the new standards for this coming school year. It's been around for over 20 years, and we actually visit every 5th grade. We offer it to every 5th grade class in Utah every single year with about a 97% acceptance rate. So we should be coming to your schools every single year. The kindergarten one is fairly new. It was just created a few years ago. We're also offering this one to every kindergarten class in Utah every single year. It's been a little bit slower to grow because kindergarten teachers haven't had outreach before, so they don't understand what it is that we're doing, and they get really nervous when strangers want to come in their classroom for some reason. So if you have kindergarten teachers, please let them know that we are a reputable program. It is free. It is part of the state funding, and we absolutely want to come out. And that program focuses on force and motion. It is SSECC standard compliant because it was created during the 6 through 8 changes, so we kind of knew what was coming down the pipeline. So we created that with an eye to the future, so that one won't need to be changed at all. We offer field trips like everybody else, serving over 20,000 kids each year. Mostly grades pre-K through 5, but we can go higher than that. We have a whole bunch of add-on discovery workshops. I just added a few of our more popular ones. CSI covers inherited traits and adaptations. Kinderforce is a really good follow-up to our potential energy visit, where instead we talk about how we can push and pull things, kids learn how outside forces like wind and water can push and pull objects. We have some arts ones like Rhythms of the World. Our financial literacy one is a little sad, but if you really love dollars and cents, you can go to that one. We're making it better. We also have bus scholarships available to low-income schools. Those go super fast, and we're gonna start booking for next year's field trips really soon. So tell your teachers to watch out for those emails, and if they want a bus scholarship, they're probably going to have to apply by March to be eligible. Our teacher professional development, we focus on the 2 grades we focus on for our outreach, so kindergarten and 5th grade. Again, our 5th grade program has been around for a really long time. Teachers walk away with a kit filled with chemicals and science materials. It's like $250 worth of stuff. It's really big. And a binder that's basically their entire matter curriculum for them. That will be updated during next year, probably. I don't know. I'll figure that out. But it will be compliant with the SSECC standards. Energy transfer is brand new, so that's already compliant. We have 3 different modules that teachers can choose from. We can do a BBOTS and coding in the kindergarten classroom one about observing with kindergartners and teaching them how to make observations, and the last one about integrating literacy and science. Kindergarten has a very limited amount of time to teach science, and so we're trying to build it into as many subject matters areas as possible so that they're making the best use of their time. We also do community outreach, which the other guys do as well. Like, we'll come to your STEM nights, your science fairs, your family nights. You can always reach out to us. We serve around 100,000 people each year doing those. These guys will also come, any of the IC groups are happy to come out as long as we have the staff and time available. Questions?
So you said you come out to science fair, does that mean like you would do judging or?
Yeah, I can do
that kind of stuff?
judging, or we can have like a table if you wanted to have an activity.
And I'll actually mention that. It's actually kind of funny you say that, because every time I get emails from people in the state like, can I get some people to help me judge science fair? They're the first ones I go to. Hey, I see. Would you be able to come and, I mean, not all of them have the capacity for that, but those that can generally jump right on it. So I mean, like, it is a possibility if you need some good judges.
Okay, cause Tooele, we kind of get shafted sometimes with judges and we end up having our high school kids do it. Which, you know, they're not that experienced, so.
Well, I think that you're seeing the IC group has a lot to offer, especially with this transition that we're making. This is a great way to provide some extra support for teachers and to really help deepen student understanding. So I want to thank Laura and Rachel and Angelina. Can we give them a round of applause? Woo! Thank you very much.
Can I add really fast, just to make sure it's really clear, because they come at least every other year or so, and still there are districts and charters that are like, wait, does that really mean we can do it too? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
Like, they are funded from the legislature to come to every school that they focus on, right? In their, like, so if you have any interest, if you're like, well, but probably not us, we're just a little charter school. No, you too, right? Or no, we're out in the middle of Blanding, they can't come to us. No, they will go to you too, or Millard County, right? I mean, like, we will go anywhere, they will go anywhere that they can. Understand, because that's a huge ask, there is a 3-year rotation for that. So that's what it is. So if you don't know when you fit into the rotation, you can say like, hey, I'm from Millard County or from Blanding. They're like, well, it looks like we won't be there until this year. And then you know when to like contact them again.
Or you
So
could be like Tooele and they'd be like, I don't think we've been there in like 15 years. So you don't know, just ask,
And a lot
because
of the
sometimes
times-
they don't,
a lot of the times they
So
do
just
their
contact
best.
them. They will, I mean, they're great to work with.
And they do their best to reach out to you, but
Yes.
the people who they reach out to are, as you know, rotating doors. And so they're like, I no longer have a contact for this district. They come to us, who can we contact? We give them names, and it's just kind of like they never hear anything back. So if you have interest for your teachers and your schools and your students, please take the initiative and reach out to them. They'd really appreciate that.
A lot of times they'll contact schools and they just don't hear anything back. I mean, and they'll contact them 2-3 times, and so they're always saying to me, how can we make sure that they know we're coming? Hence why I brought them in today.
And I'm sorry, I just thought of one more thing too. Also, it's important to realize this isn't just for like after they've taken their tests things, right? Like a lot of times we have for some reason they find some of their busiest times is like, well, we'll have time for this after our testing's over. No, like this is aligned to the standards the kids should be learning anyway. So look in your plan, figure when you're teaching waves and contact the Leonardo. Figure out when you're doing natural habitats. I mean, figure out when these things fit and try to get this, see if you can schedule them in at those times, right? I mean,
So
this-
we'll deepen student understanding and support teachers. So that's good. Yes.
I was just gonna say that at the UC conference this year, the Utah Society for Environmental Education, one of the things that we were focusing on is kind of creating a better bridge between the informal and formal education, because that's our biggest problem right now in secondary and primary education really, is that like people just don't know who to talk to, and then it's just too much work, right? Because then it's like, oh, I've got to contact this person, and then this person sends me that person sends me this person, and then by the time you figure it out, it's like, oh, well, no, I don't have time for it. So Alex Propora, she's the director of UC, and she and I are working together to come up with a spreadsheet that we are hopefully going to be able to share with your districts of people who are willing to do outreach, the contact information, and the grades and standards that they teach, so that then you can actually contact that person. And it's just easy, you can go and find it, and you don't have to be like searching 15 different websites. So that's sort of a project that we're working on right now to help with the connection between formal and informal education.
Great. And that's, again, why we've brought them in, so that you can meet them, you know who they are, their contact information will be in the notes, so that you can utilize their services, because they are amazing. Yes?
I have a question. Who do you typically, when you contact LEAs, who do you contact? Because if you, like in the charter schools, you contact a director or what, you're never gonna, they have too many things to do. But if you contact the science person at that charter school,
Well, and I think that's part of the problem. They contact the schools but they don't have the teachers within that, those educators rotate so much that that's hard to keep an updated list. But they do contact the
If you don't
schools.
have updated contacts on your website or don't have email addresses on your website, then it's like,
Right.
you can call and leave a message, but nobody ever gets those or returns them.
So that's why they're here today.
Yep, that's why they're here.
Reach out
You
to
now
them.
have their contact information.
And by the way, these are just 3 of 10 of them,
Uh-huh.
right? I mean, there are 7 others that we haven't highlighted.
Last time you had 2 come, and next time you'll have 3 more come, so that you're kind of getting to see them all and become familiar with all of them. So thank you very much. We appreciate
I
you.
also just put the link to our website on the notes too, that has
Great.
all of our contact information.
That is wonderful. Okay, my friends,
Don't do it,
picture.
it's a trap, don't do it.
Don't do
I'm
it.
trying to hit snooze.
It's a trap! Still doing it through applications.
It's still gonna, just so you know, just a warning, in 2 hours, it's gonna just start restarting her computer. Welcome to our office.
Welcome to our daily life.
Deal with that when it happens.
It was like, oh no, better hit that phone. All right, friends. Ricky and I wanted to make sure you had an update on where things are for the core guides. Because there have never been core guides for science standards in the past. So this is all new. With the change in the new seed standards, it felt like this was the right time to really provide those supports for teachers. So they are in the works. Just to give you an idea, this is the purpose. I think it's important to understand the purpose so that you understand what they contain. So take just a minute and read what the purpose of core guides is. Okay, my friends, what kind of stands out to you about the purpose of core guides? Because there have been some misconceptions about what they are and what they are not. So what kind of stands out to you?
It's support,
It's a support.
and it's just clarifying.
Clarifying, good. Yes, Nate?
It empowers just a regular teacher to unpack the core, to understand the meaning behind maybe this science and engineering practice. I mean, helps them understand what does this actually mean or look like in my classroom.
Rather than going to 50 different documents, it's in one spot right there for that one standard. Yes,
Looks like it shows them what to teach, but not how to teach it.
exactly. These are the expectations. This will be what proficiency looks like. Now, it is the LEA's responsibility to decide, so the district or the charter's responsibility to decide what curriculum will we use to get them there. So, just an update on where they are at. In November, the team leads and we did it in bands of life science, earth and space science, and physical science, and then engineering. The team leads got together to say, what would be some things, in order to meet that purpose, what types of things would we want to have in the core guides? They created a template for, these are the things we think should be in there. Then for 3 days, writing teams came in. And the teams had teachers, science specialists, coaches, and people from higher education. So they were diverse teams. They came in and started to populate the sections in the template. Then from November to January, these team leads have worked to go through and really refine what was put into the templates by the writing teams. In January, Ricky and I met with the team leads for 2 days, and we went and looked at all of them and said, now we need to build consensus across everything so that what teachers are seeing horizontally and vertically is aligned together. And they're seeing the same types of things in the same types of ways. So we spent 2 days working on that, and team leads are now going in and making all of those changes. They have been very busy. In elementary, on February 4th, the team leads are coming back in to brainstorm phenomena for each of the standards. So our hope is that every standard will have 2 to 3 phenomena. And then we are all meeting again in March to kind of finalize what we have and make those final revisions so that hopefully sometime late spring or thereabouts, they should be available. Now there are things, they're looking at putting different kind of reviews in place at the state board, which may delay it slightly for some public feedback. So that's why we say, approximately late spring, maybe early summer-ish. But really the intent is to put out a nice product that will really support teachers and put everything in one place for them. So to kind of help as we make these final revisions, you can see that in the shared notes, Ricky's put links to an elementary standard core guide and to a secondary. Or you can go to this bit.ly folder and see both of them. What I'm wondering is in like groups of 2 or 3, if you work with secondary, select the secondary one. If you work with elementary, look at the elementary one. Look through and provide feedback. There's a place in the notes to provide feedback. Really look at, so first take a reading of this 3 times, looking at different levels. So from macro to micro levels. So the first thinking about, I guess our laser pointer doesn't work anymore. Battery's gone down.
That's unfortunate.
It is. So first, if you'll read through and look at the sections and just see what are the types of areas that we're thinking teachers might want support. Do those seem like ones that really would provide support? Or are they not necessary? Are there some that are missing? Would there be better ones? So we really want to know, what are your thoughts about the different sections? Then look within those sections at the details. So the details in here, is that really going to help them with that section support? Are those the right details? Are there some that are missing? What are your thoughts? So really looking at kind of a micro and a macro level. And then for the last time, just thinking, if we could put something in, what would we put in? If we could have anything in there, realizing we obviously can't write curriculum. But is there anything else that like, this would be a fabulous section to have, this would be great. Think about this.
And that is a good limitation to mention, right? We've heard, I've gotten so many emails from teachers being like, so when are you gonna give us lessons for this? And my answer is never.
Never?
Like, I am not allowed to give lessons. However, there are great lessons being created all over the place. So hopefully you're finding those districts and those charters, those people that are, and we've been talking about finding some way to like have a local place to post those, but at the same time, it's kind of a scary idea just for people to post lessons, because I've seen examples of people that are like, I have the greatest 3D lesson. I'm like, I'd love to see it. And I watch and I'm like, this is not 3D. And so to post that is kind of a scary thought, just for people just to randomly post. So we're still in this world of, we want to make sure that what is out there is quality, and that takes a lot of time to review. So for now, we're letting the districts really be the ones to like run that and go from there. So.
And really we're hoping from this that you're the ones working with educators right now, helping prepare them for next year. So you're seeing the types of things that they need and the supports that they need. That's why we really want your feedback. Are those supports in there? Are they not? Are these redundant sections? Do we not have enough detail? So will you, in groups of 2 or 3, let's take, what time is it now? Should we take about 10 minutes in your groups and really do a deep dive in this, because this is your chance to get your feedback out there for us, all right? So groups of 2 or 3, look through those 3 questions, go through each one of them and provide feedback on the elementary or the secondary level, all right? Thank you, we appreciate your feedback. So we'll come back together at 9:25.
Oh, and yeah, and please actually use this.
Yeah.
Like after you've
There
had
for
your
a reason.
discussions and you have ideas, have someone put them in. That'd be great for us.
You just
to hear
talk
what
about
you
it, but don't put them in, it's not helpful for us.
Suggestions
I'm not
and
bad
write them down.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Many brains make a much better product.
Well, this is why he's over here, he wants to pass it.
No. All I'm saying is, that so like whenever I do
You don't front load them with it.
actually, that was my experience.
Yeah, he actually really loves his brother. It's so weird because you think like they get all mad because like I'll go pick him up at dinner.
I'm sorry, I'll have to
like,
tell you.
No, it's no big deal. But anyway, but like that's what it was.
and like I'll take him into like and I'll just like he'll
Sounds
like
so
run up to me and like
I don't get to be with mom.
which is really difficult. I thought I would like FaceTime, but yeah.
I'm okay with it.
You're at that point.
I could see them busy taking notes, like, oh yeah, we wanna
He just
make sure they get in, and so I think that's good for them to see you and realize, because I think a lot of them did.
So how is
So,
we're still like the science fair going? You guys.
this gives them a chance to know about you, and they were very interested, so thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for letting us come. It's really nice.
And like some of them just don't understand what it is. They're just like, no, I don't.
Yeah, because my
Like,
kids,
free
it's
science.
it's free hour for you to hang out.
You don't have to teach, like, you don't have to do anything, be in the room, like,
Next year I'm adding an advanced
yeah,
research.
it's still fun,
They're
but
like,
I'm like, no, we don't.
finally.
Alright.
And it's like, because I'm meeting to
I don't understand what either of those.
Oh,
because I mean, they rate me on the standard.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
Well-
once I was gone for 6 weeks.
Yes,
so I was like,
The things are
I
fine.
was just like, so my kids' projects
I
was like,
have experience.
right? But I mean, it's a good experience for them, but at the same time, it's like,
I mean, it's all of I have to
like half my kids, like our district fair is like, is next year, right? So my kids are
I totally understand that.
yeah, so I'm like freaking out, so I'm not at school today. Yeah. I have them today. So I was just like, I told myself, I was like, if they are on their phones, take their phones away, they need to be working on besides reports, I swear, like, they have to be some way out.
and then you sit down and like just push back.
So it's a mess, but next year is gonna be good because I'm having this advanced research class, I'm gonna have,
I just don't think they
oh, that's what the kids are gonna do for the first semester.
Yeah, a lot of them are still.
Their first semester project, or their, is,
Like, I'll talk to your 5th grade teachers, talk to your 5th grade teachers, talk to them, ask them how we are, like, we'll vouch for us, it's fine. Some of them have come around after that, so. And then there were a couple that we didn't have to study. I don't know, the feedback was weird and like, we're not teaching your entire science unit. You're one day teaching for 45 minutes, like,
why,
there's only so much we can do in that 45 minutes, like, it's like all your science for the year. Or like, less time. Like, yeah, so it's like, straight. I should have had more
and that's
more
like,
standards.
in my school, it's like,
Like, so we gotta help you out, like, I don't know, it's weird. We're getting there, you know, we'll get there eventually, the 5th grade teachers will know and understand it, like, my time.
And like I walked like this time went up. It's one of those.
yeah, I'm, with my kids, or in the district, or for our region here, I'm gonna give them like.
Yeah, definitely having already had like this program and been like already have really good relationships with like science specialists in districts, state, like they already know our 5th grade program super well, and so it was easier to be like, hey, can you help me with this? So that's been helpful.
Oh, you have a program?
They have talked to me, so I'm just session. I think the department was supposed to change because I have my school down. So I have like idea what
I don't think so, but it is a little crowded depending on which grade you go to.
right? So that's what I was thinking, I was like, I just need to check, like, I should kind of just like to see like if we intentionally plan there.
Yeah.
And we were doing probably not, so right.
So it's just us in fifth grade, but fifth grade also go to this town and they go to the symphony every year. So they already have like, yeah, they have a lot of stuff that they're doing.
7 days.
I wouldn't be offended if you're like, we're gonna do fifth grade as long as you're not like, we're gonna do fifth grade chemistry, because then I would fight you. But like, you wanna take on fifth grade lab forms, like you go for it, I hate that stuff.
High school has it. Okay, see, and that's kind of what I was thinking, I was like, if we did this intentionally, I could see it.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't be like,
Special.
partners
that we
have, they have to be like, why are you doing that?
No, like we have other grades that overlap,
I was
possibly expanding to second grade because
thinking like I've got to find something that I can do, and it's just like
I think especially if you're not trying to do every single year, if you could get with the other group in the grade or the other national grade so that you're all on a different rotation and not trying to hit the same districts the same year. I think that would be fine.
Cool, awesome, thanks. I just, like a little planning and research, which is what I was thinking, but I was like,
Yeah, and one of the things we hear from is like, we get a lot of first grade teachers who want to bring their first graders into our leadership program, which like if we have time and already at the school, that's fine, but like we can't make a team trip just for them because we have to start kindergarten first. But like they want a physics program.
Okay, see, and I love first grade, that's my real true love.
And I think this Ogden Nature Center and Redview are in first grade, but they're both doing like plant mechanics.
Right.
So there's not as many physics classes.
And so that's what I thought, I was like, and the literacy in science is something that I'm listing with them, which is and I know NHF, you probably have ideas, but I heard about that, but I see their interests, so. And then it has less like research, but if it's something.
let me add you to like, so I have a Canvas course. Do you have Canvas? Do you do Canvas? Okay. I'm gonna add you to my science fair course, but I don't know, maybe I'm just like, and it has everything like,
Yeah, like, it's cool, we do stuff all the
It is nice because
some of the stuff I haven't really done. Yeah, I sort of created the shelf for students to choose to leave. And this is the worst of so these are topic research, like, see, I have all this history. And so I think our kids were like, okay, so here are your basics, right? So you have to do it.
Right, thank you. I trust you mostly because I know you're talking about it.
I mean, I think you would have to be, I would help, like I would show my support for it too. I think whichever, then I can raise my voice so they can look at the other kids that are there and I would feel them out too.
Yeah, they have to their research topic.
Even if they do get like, they're gonna get over it. It's like, we're doing more science to get like,
Yeah, like,
and like
that
yeah.
would be perfect to put into there, but like, I'll add you to these courses as a teacher.
I think this is good, we're already doing some of this, I'm making notes and stuff.
So the other thing that I did, because the problem we had last year was
But to me, the key is phenomenal.
I got
When
so
I do with
frustrated.
my science enrichment.
Yep, that's chemistry too. So like that, I feel like I can never change the program ever. Like fifth grade did it.
I took every single form, and I said,
I hit.
As long as it's still in your standards, I'll still do it, right?
so everyone has to fill this one,
I've got
everyone has to fill
kindergartners
this
next
one,
week,
everyone
we're
has
still
to
working
fill
on
this one.
it.
Students are using research basically, and he was fill this
I'll
one out.
probably have 6 different phenomenal.
I looked through everything.
Like in physics and chemistry.
5 to 6 minutes.
I feel like also there's this like stigma that was
Just let them know.
either you work it at it or you work it.
Not the
Carry
phenomenal.
that into
And I was just like so frustrated.
You have to be so smart to understand. So hard.
So I was like, okay, well, guess what? Look on here, and I tell you exactly what you need to do. And then on it, and then what I did is I created
because
Lack is a better word, I'm developing
a
guides.
drive with their name on it,
because they're using words that are
or they download the file and then they upload it to
yeah. And the teachers think that like if we're not using the words
It's already
first,
so like I'll show you. Like I said, the forms were like my worst nightmare last year.
like so it's been kind of a mind
Some of my
shift for
kids
them
didn't
to see
get to
like
go.
you don't have to use these words and they're still describing the schema, like they get it. They can learn the words later.
My school. So I have science fair uploads.
Yeah, like there's a reason you know how to like use your audience first.
Because you're trying to share this with that person and then
Versus
Once they send
so so now once they create their accounts, which they can't do until 27.
yeah, it's fun. Our the kindergarten program has been like the fifth grade program is fun and like it's done flashy. It's already thinking on fire and make some sure about
I only shared their own photos, so they can't mistakenly upload them to the
when people come to see the kindergarten
I think them being able to.
don't remember the numbers like one of our first years too.
Yeah, and now they can just
It was like it was the best thing that came because we were asked to increase spending to
you know, and then also the biggest problem that we had last year was
and
that
he sat with me and he was like, I'm not gonna lie, I sat with
they were
him.
PDF files, but so much saving them after they had.
And I was like, yes! I was
And
like,
then they were saving
yeah,
the
yeah,
file
like,
and
I never made anything
file.
else.
So they were just like, so I was like, my kids are awesome. So I did that, and then the last thing I did was
Really? I'm glad I'm in a position to abstract. I'm telling you these things. Like, we were in kindergarten,
at the very end, I did abstracts and final walkthroughs. So, you know, I haven't done any techniques yet, but there's a huge hole.
yeah, anything that's like, we have so much animals.
There was a part where I had
to abstract. And especially the engineering, like, we used to do some engineering in first grade, that was awesome.
Alright, that's what I just had to think, because that's our fun, try to.
Yeah, so right here, abstract.
That's like the physics.
That's our abstract. Our fourth grade, boom, all you have to do is click on it, it pulls up a PDF file, fill it out, it doesn't look like crap, then I don't have to return it.
Yeah, there's
I just go in and change it.
For this one.
It's already done, and then, you know, when they go to read it, the judge is like, this sucks, then they can go back and fix it.
I don't answer my phone.
Region
My email
is already in their folder. So, what's your
I also found out one other thing.
If I'm busy, I'll just take me like a couple days to respond, especially if it's a machine learning.
Hopefully they'll continue to do it. I found out that I understand now
Yes.
why
Seriously, it's been a long time. Were you guys crazy on
I don't know.
I don't have to.
Do a thing on.
We also started doing
That's-
Oh boy. That sounds like
Well-
my thing. It's so bad, we ran out of audio guides and it's all
I
our
used to know
frontline
what
stuff.
happened.
And all our frontline staff is temporary, and so there's not that investment, and so. What? That's what I keep telling myself. I'm like, so I go, this is going good.
And you're maybe getting another educator.
Next
I don't know, life is going great. I'll see you later. Yeah.
maybe do K through 2 and say, okay,
how really unless it has to
twice a month for an hour.
Do you have a different
I know, put a lot of one to
Because they don't know how to, they don't know how to ask for help because they don't know.
Yeah,
And
I think that's a big shortcoming just in teacher preparation.
What's your login for?
They need to make sure that
Oh, yeah.
talk about that.
I better log in.
We use
The time of year everybody's.
we take a bunch of tasks, you know, and we pick different lessons from lower grade students. But they really, other teachers like are so paralyzed by the fact that they feel like they have to follow lesson by lesson because they don't have the confidence to They don't know.
What they want is they want cookbooks.
Yeah, because they don't know what to do without it.
And that's exactly what's wrong with some, it's too much cookbooks. You know, give them the ingredients, this is what it looks like, how are you gonna get from here to here, and let them, and so what if they make mistakes? People, that's one of the things I have to do in middle school, I have to tell these kids, you're gonna make mistakes, you know? And the old cliche is, you know, there's no such thing as losers, there's winners and learners.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you
some
either
of the-
win or you learn.
I don't know, kids intuitively like hypothesize about something. If they're wrong, they feel like that's the natural feeling.
I had a thing where I had everybody working on like a Pangea puzzle. And they were working in individuals but within teams.
It shouldn't matter,
They
you'll
said
find
that
a
way.
match.
And then everybody kept saying, is this right, is this right, is this right? And when they were done, I said, everybody keeps wanting to know if this is right. Because you want me to go yes and pat you on the head.
You add any knowledge or something, maybe
Go.
with another.
Look at each other, you know, they all look the
Or
same.
maybe-
I said, now rotate.
If you add-
that way.
can you add-
What are
if I
you
can-
saying?
yeah,
Somebody goes, we're either all right or we're all wrong. I said, and what are you? It's all right. So I said, why you need to put the little stamp and the star on there so it feels good? I said, you know this stuff. You work with each other. You reach consensus and consensus is yours. I'm sitting here. And that's what I work with them on, as opposed to they're so used to, and somehow it gets conditioned in elementary school. That they're looking for that star or smiley face or something to make you feel good about themselves. I'm going, figure this out on your own based on some stuff
I
that we got.
realize that these lesson plans should come
It's
from
easy.
with.
No, but we figured it out.
From an administrative
They figured it out.
Hey, my
trying to
friends,
tie 230 students to this.
hopefully everyone had a chance to kind of look at. If you didn't provide your amazing feedback, otherwise I don't have feedback, right? So make sure it gets there. So as we kind of close this section and we're going to move into OERs, do you have like some final synthesis thoughts after looking at these? Like, oh, this occurred to me. Emily?
These are super overwhelming. Like they're overwhelming for me to look at, and that's just the nature of it. But we were kind of talking about how I totally appreciate all of this information in one place, but I don't think you could hand it to a teacher who hasn't been trained, which like falls on us that like teachers need training to even be able to use this. And so I think it's really valuable, but also we have to recognize like I don't think you could just hand this to it.
I agree, and we had conversations about that, and kind of talked about how on the first page is what you might hand the teachers, and what goes on after the first page. So the first page is like, here's the minimum to get you in, and then there's additional information. I'm wondering if, and think about that and put it in the feedback, is there a way to maybe label that or something to help teachers say,
Some kind of guide, like this is how you use this. I don't know.
we did create core guides, how to read the core guides. So there is a document that does that.
Perfect.
I should have put that in, that would have been a good thing for you to look at. But there is a how to read the core guides. Yes?
It's kind of like when you get a cell phone, you get that thick booklet that tells you everything, but you're looking for the quick start. They need a quick start. The other,
Maybe we call it quick start, the first page, and then additional or diving deeper. Cause I think Emily has, her comment has value.
right, the other thing is, none of this makes sense without phenomenon. It's like giving instructions how to drive a car and you don't have a car. There needs to, and I saw the part on phenomenon, if you got an idea, submit it. But there needs to be a smorgasbord of phenomenon that people can look at. Because we're doing our own training at our school, and Peggy Taylor, who I think you guys know, she does the unpacking and I do, and this is what it looks like. And so, because they need to see what it looks like.
I agree,
And the
and we're meeting on the
phenomenon-
4th to try and put
So
some
we
in, but
understand
we
that this
also
project
wanted
is not done.
yeah,
We are in the beginnings of a project. What happened was because the standards were adopted in June and all our work is based on the work of teachers, it was hard to be like, hey, it's June, who wants to cancel their summer plans and start working on core guides? No one. And so Scott would.
oh, I did,
Thanks,
wait, no.
So anyway, and so because of that, like work started in late September when we finally were able to get stuff in place. So we're really in the beginning of this. So know that it's coming and we are aware of that. But
And we're meeting on February 4th to start putting in some, but we also wanna keep that link because that way we can add
Oh,
more as we get good ones.
absolutely.
But I completely agree with you on that. Yes, Rebecca?
So I agree that I think it's really overwhelming, and I think one of the reasons that it's overwhelming, I think there are two main reasons that I feel that way. One is actually the visual layout, like the font is really small and like everything is all on one page. I wonder whether, for example, with the biology, when you go into the 3D student expectations, maybe you have a separate page for students use the science and engineering practice of planning, carrying out investigations by, and then just that one thing. And then there's another page that says you can use this, analyzing and interpreting data by doing this. Or something to kind of visually kind of space things out, separate them. And I also agree it would be really helpful to have phenomena in there. So I would consider, for example, some of these are saying like plan an investigation to blah, blah, blah. It would be really helpful to have like maybe 3 phenomena that could be investigated for this standard. So that as teachers are thinking about it, because it's really abstract.
I agree.
And so having a few phenomena there, just like think about how you might do this, I think would be really helpful. And then the other reason that I think, so the visual layout is one thing, and the other reason is I think there's just like a lot of extra and complex words in here that don't need to be there. And so I think it makes, so I made edits, I don't know if anyone saw, it was like we only got through like one page. I don't know how long we were working on this, but we got through, just planning and carrying out investigations, and that's just it's a tiny little fraction. So I agree, this is like a lot to give to teachers, you know what I mean, to try and make sense of it. Anyway, I think there's a lot of extra words in there, and we really need to focus on how do we convey the point simply.
I think that's important, and that's why we're sharing it with you guys. So I'm excited to look through your edits to say, oh, this might be a way we wanna simplify. I know that elementary, we're planning on having 2 minimum, hopefully 3 phenomena for every standard. I don't know where secondary.
we're hoping on 100.
High school teachers, for the most part, they don't have a problem finding phenomena. They're using phenomenon now. They just aren't like calling it that, and they're using it more in a very direct instruction type of way. My experience and that my primary work has been with the high school teachers is they don't have a problem. They don't have a problem with this. And my thing is, right, I want them, like right now, I'm making sure they're going to the framework, so because their big thing is let's get the content down to a reasonable amount, because my high school teachers they're teaching beyond the core.
Yeah.
Which is why they say we don't have time to blah blah blah. Well, that's because what you're teaching isn't even in the standards, right? And so the framework for them, which is in here, I can see it's all together. Like you've taken the resources, the great resources available, and shoved them together. And so while I think it's useful to have a document with all of this, but if there's also a version like where the pieces are broken out. So you have the framework where, and the hyperlinks in the standards are super great too. Really, the resources are there. It's great to have a common document, but sometimes having them separated when you're first working with them, because the content is their big deal right now. You want us to dumb it down. We want you to do something with it. We want the students to do something with it, not just regurgitate it back to you. So if there was a way to have it all together, but then somehow on another page, it broke down, because
I can see that, and I think
they're
that's.
bouncing back and forth,
Yeah,
and that's frustrating for them. Like,
it is.
I want you to go to the framework, and then I want you to go to the purple book, and then I want you to go to NGSS, and then, they're smart people and they do it.
I think it's going to come down to kind of what Emily said, and maybe what we talked about up here about how can we maybe more clearly label the sections, and maybe even have a quick guide section and then an additional section. So those are some things to think about. We appreciate your feedback.
But for
If-
us, this is a really good, like,
And I think that it will be helpful for you as you go in and start working with teachers also. Because I know as I've worked with teachers, having them go to 50 different places, they get really frustrated. So this does put everything in one place. Now we just need to figure out how can we best format it so that it's usable. So thank you. Make sure that if you have other comments, you get those in the notes so that we can read those. Because that will be important as we move to the final phase. Did you have one last comment, Candace?
No, can I just stand? So are there any other secondary writers here? Okay, okay, just stand up for a second. Yeah, I just, so we are on the core guidance. So I think it's important to know too, there's a big difference between when you say elementary and secondary.
Yeah.
Right, on the core guides. And our purpose was, and this is what is really hard about it, is that the farther up you go, the more learning progressions you have and the more information you have, right? And so that was part of I think the difficulty in high school is we really want to bring out this idea that science is important in kindergarten. Like if you're not teaching in kindergarten that practice, the students don't know how to do the practice at that level. And just because they're in 3rd and 5th grade, they don't start making that practice, but you guys can sit down. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I mean, I love all these comments. And I also want to say we took everything out of the framework. Like if the words,
you could
Rebecca,
see, it was
I'm
like
just telling you,
verbatim.
it's like out of the framework verbatim.
Verbatim.
And so that's what we really need to know, especially in high school. It is really challenging.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your feedback, but I also want to push back a little bit and say, you know, we had teachers there and people who have been working with this. And we have to remember that we have a very wide audience, but at the end of the day, we want it to be useful. And it is the framework, because the problem is you have to have 5 different resources and we're trying to pull them all together. So I don't know. mean,
I think
someone
it
else
comes
can-
down to labeling. I think
Yeah.
we need to do a better job in labeling.
It's just a formatting.
So I think
Yeah.
that's something that Ricky and I will talk with team leaders about. How can we make this a little bit more readable maybe?
And then how can you chunk it? Like, is it in a format that you could take a chunk, like one standard, right, and give it, or one strand, a couple standards and break it? A way you can like chunk it, like just give them certain pieces.
Right.
Because I would never give them this whole, I mean, I'm gonna provide it as a resource, but in professional development and working with teachers, I'm gonna give them, I just wanna be able to give them a piece of it that gives them the progression.
Well, I think
that
if it's
gives
better labeled
Yeah,
in different
yeah, it's
sections,
just,
that will meet your need.
Yeah.
Tell
And
us
what we're
pieces,
hearing
like
here.
what pieces to you, Jane, what pieces are the most important?
well, I want, well, for how
I'm
much
just
for
curious.
how much time I had to look at it.
What I'm thinking is, I think that this is something that we'll hash out now with our team leaders.
And you'll
And
figure
this
it
is good feedback, that's why we wanted this feedback.
That's what-
And this is something we'll now go, take this feedback back to the team leaders and say, this is what they're saying. How can we, accommodate that to make it easier to understand and to read? And so I think that's really the big point.
Well, and just know, just seeing the work where you took all these resources we are having our teachers go to and we're going to, for even us to continue to figure this out, and putting it in one place. I just want my teachers to know where each piece came from. So, because high school, they're all about, they all want, where did this come from? That's how they push back, is they want the evidence, which is good. That's what makes them good high school teachers, right?
I think that's great feedback. And I can see where some of these things will make it much more usable. And it needs to be usable. So anyway, we appreciate your feedback because that is now what we'll take for next steps. So we need some kind of similar work to be done with these. I'll let Ricky handle this next section.
Perfect. So another thing too to think about with the core guides that we need to make sure is clear is that with those core guides, we knew that the State Board of Education wanted to start potentially making changes to core guides in general, that there would potentially be a standard of what they would look like. I mean, we don't know what that is yet. So
No.
understand that because that we're trying to put all the information in that we want to know how we can chunk it into the system that they give us. So,
Yeah, and we don't know the final format that we'll be asked to put it into, but we can provide recommendations, which is why I think your feedback is so critical right now. And I can see what you're saying.
Okay, sorry, my computer is being dumb, and so I'm trying to get it back up. OERs, same thing. So great news for those who haven't heard yet. How many of you guys are familiar with our OER textbooks that we've now had for, I don't know, 10 years? These OER books have always been there, have been aligned to standards. They were grades 3 through 12. We've now recreated the OER books to align to the new SSECC standards. So they match what we did for 6th, 7th, and 8th, where every chapter is aligned to a standard, that every chapter starts with a phenomenon. And the great news also is good leadership by Melissa, as she says, we need these K-12. And so we actually will have books available K through 12. So if you have teachers that need resources, they want their, again, we have these. We've been creating them. They're almost ready. So let me give you some updates for these books.
And they're further along the core guides. This was where we started and then moved to core guides second. Well, that's why I said I think the battery went dead. I've got another one, hang on.
Or the computer went dead.
Hopefully not that.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so
Let's just change that.
first and foremost.
Is it working now?
Yeah, it is. So first and foremost, give you an update. From September to November, again, we couldn't start until the fall. These books were created. We were working on them. They now went through in December. We went through a really big overhaul. When you make these books Creative Commons, we want to make sure that they meet all the requirements, meaning there cannot be a single picture that is a copyrighted picture or the whole thing falls apart. So Tracy Paulson, our Creative Commons guru, went through every single page of every single book to make sure that teachers didn't slide in things. That always seems to happen. At the beginning, we give them this training. Everything in here must be a Creative Commons license. And it was crazy because she would they put an entire page that was copied and pasted out of a yearbook, out of a Pearson text. So we're gonna have to get a new one for there. And we're like, ooh, that's bad news. So again, she did everything. It was terrific. So that's done. So now we're kind of getting into the formatting page or part. They're mostly done. We have a couple left in high school to do. Our hope is that these books will be done and available in the next few weeks, potentially. Hopefully by February is our hope.
And by done, he doesn't mean like they're never going to change, because every year we'll be updating and revising and fixing issues.
Right. So there are 2 ways to access these books when they are ready. And just so you know, there'll be a nice email sent to the science email list and the SSECC list when they're done. First is downloads. They'll be available to download as a PDF. We have a lot of schools that have a one-to-one, so we can just download the PDF, throw them into their little one-to-one devices, and they're there, right? The other thing too that we've created is we've made a Google Documents form of this. So if there's a teacher that wants to go in, make a copy of this and make some edits for their own personal uses, wonderful. Notice the last bullet though. It's crucial that any changes that they make also meet the same copyright rules. If a teacher decides to take our book and then go, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I really love this stuff from Pearson, and throw it into theirs and break copyright. The way we've put the introduction in there, they are liable. Like any changes to this book based on the standard found here is on these people. So if your teachers make these changes posted to their websites for the world to see, they are in breach potentially of copyright. And notice this very last thing that's really crucial. Oh yeah, it doesn't work. Fair use does not work in this case. There are a lot of teachers that live in this world of fair use. As a teacher, I could do fair use, meaning I can use 10% of this and 20% of that and all the fair use rules. If it becomes a book that is published and put back on the website, that is now out. That is now a product. That is not education, teaching. That is now potentially selling. I know it's not, but that's how they see it. So please be super aware that if your teachers use this, that they're comfortable with that. Also thing to think about, oh, thank you. That's not on. Yes. Okay. So with that, just be aware. I know sometimes in the past we've had districts that are like, we're going to make our blank district version of these books for us. Same rules apply. Your district's liable if you add stuff that shouldn't be added. So just be careful with that. Print. Wonderful news. We've gone through several different printers for these books in the last few years. There's a lot of schools that prefer to use these in a printed workbook for kids to write in, and they get new ones every year because they're so cheap. We now have a vendor that we're almost finalized our contract. The state has a contract with Office Depot. With Office Depot, we have the following book prices, which is about 2 cents for every printed side of a page and about $2.60 for the cover and binding. And with that, you get the cost of a book. Here's the great news with them, unlike the last ones that we used. Shipping is free. So in the past, with our last one, BR printers, it was like an extra $1 per book to print the books. Now shipping is free. Shipping will actually, they said the printing itself will be done and shipped to you within a week. So great news. So anyway, so look for information about these books coming to you soon. When it comes to the format of the book, like I said before, they're gonna match what we did with 6-8. There's kind of the specifics there. Understand that there's a phenomenon, that we're gonna have some probing questions, potentially, hopefully based in cross-cutting concepts, looking at what patterns do you notice, or how are matter and energy interacting here? I mean, those kind of things to try to get them thinking in that area. And then again, please understand, every year these books are updated. So that's another thing too. If your district decides to make their version of the book, that's wonderful, but when USBE makes the next version of the book, you have to make your changes again, or just keep using your book, or whatever you choose to do, so. Know
And
that
realize that we
have them.
update it every year, so I've had people say, well, so I'm gonna print this and then that's it, and I'll have that. Well, yeah, it'll be current for 1 year, but hopefully we're making it better each year. So maybe a digital version might be a good option. Anyway, realize these are works in progress.
So let's look at those. If you haven't yet, go to this page. I don't know why it keeps jumping that.
Makes me just wanna start singing the song from Napoleon Dynamite.
So with this, what we'd like to do is take some time. Again, we've posted 2 versions of the new OER books for you to see in the shared notes. There's one link that will get you to a version. Now this one won't let you make edits in there, by the way. We're not letting you do that. But we'll let you see it for now. But any changes you have, please put them into the notes. I have some places for you to write some comments. But you can see the first grade book, you can see the biology book. Again, we have them now. They'll be K-12 aligned to the seed. So please look at those. I'm gonna give you some time now, and please take time after this meeting, because we're going a bit behind, and I wanna make sure we hit everything we have planned for today. So give you some time to look at those, and then to use these questions here in the shared notes to be able to put in your thoughts. We're looking specifically, if you don't mind, at what do you like, what needs some improvement, what would you like to see added, and et cetera. So look at these questions and you can go from there.
Remember, did you share these in a poster format with us after our Lead with Seed meeting?
Will you send me an email and I'll make sure that, I mean, they should be in that
I
folder.
can't remember.
Just send me an email.
What's
Also,
that folder?
where these, something that you'll be interested in, the same printer that's doing these OERs, we're thinking about giving them this so that you can click on some just posters too.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
So that's,
Okay.
so we're working on that contract right now, but
What's the name of that? Was it just Lead with Seed?
I can already tell
so if you just,
this is gonna be great.
I mean, if you send me an email, I'll make sure
It's
it's in there.
exactly what I'm
Tell me
trying to
which
do for my teachers
when
now.
you find it, and I'll make sure it's in there, otherwise I'll just email them.
Very simple.
Oh, yeah.
So that you have them.
No, it's all about phenomenon. None of this makes sense without phenomenon.
Oh, cool.
That's what I'm all about.
Oh, yeah. Try. We're just,
So,
with when I went,
who took all these pictures?
when I went to UC, it's just, I was talking to Alex, and we were just talking about how like it's just ridiculously hard to get. And it's not just for us, it's for them too, you know,
Well, and you
for
might,
those informal.
Laura has the list of all the IC groups, their emails, and what grade levels they cover, so, I mean, it'd be good for probably just you two to connect. Because then you don't have to compile all that, they already have it compiled.
Well, I mean, we're not just doing IC, we're
No,
doing like,
but at
you know,
least-
DNR, like all, just every.
Well, you
That'd
guys
be
have
a big
homework.
chunk
Right,
that you don't have to go
that we could
find.
actually
It should be on our web,
Well,
like all
because
the
elementary
the
teachers
grade
need all the
levels should
help
be
they
listed on the
can,
website
because science
too.
really
Yeah, because that's what we're trying to do, because the other problem is that like,
Nicely laid out.
because I think the other problem that a lot of times we have is like, oh, I don't know what grades they do, right? And unfortunately for secondary, it's so hard because
This is
like,
gonna make my job.
we don't, they don't have, I mean,
My job is, me and Peggy.
we'll do, you know, these outreach for secondary, like, I mean, our kids still need that, it's like, it doesn't stop when they get out of grades.
It doesn't stop at
Yeah, and they still should be able to have the same opportunities, but it's always like, we have stuff for 6th and 5th grade, it's hard, because like my kids, it's almost like they kind of get gypped, because it's kind of like, oh, we basically just do 5th grade, and it's like, but these kids matter too. So that's the other thing I wanted to like start talking like different informal places where it's like, I don't mind collaborating. Hey, let's make an outreach for high school or something like that. Because I know that sometimes is hard too, because it's kind of like, well, this is all we know, right? We don't really know how can we align this to secondary, and I'm like, I'll help you with that. Because I don't know, it's hard, because I have my AP environmental science class, and they have a lab component that they have to do. So I'm like, okay, where can I take these kids? And it's like, hey, let's go to Tracy Avier. And they're like, oh, well, we only do 5th grade. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go to. So it's kind of like it's like a scavenger hunt almost.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to find it. So I was like, I'm gonna fix this, and that's like the issue.
Are you just looking at science informal ed, or are you looking at all informal ed?
All.
So have you looked at POPs groups too? The POPs groups? POPs is art, so it's like the symphony, the ballet.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff. I guess I should say really I'm looking just at science stuff, because the people that I work or my other teachers like theater and all that, but the thing is like I'm trying to integrate more cross-curricular stuff, so if there's a way that we can take like, I mean, it would be awesome to be like, let's go to the symphony as a physics class and talk about hertz, frequency, vibrations, right? Like, be like, this isn't just one tiny little sphere that doesn't touch anything else, right? Because that's the biggest problem I have with my kids too, is like, why do I need to learn how to read a table? And I'm like, let me explain why. And then and the kids don't realize that it's like integrated. I talk about how like art is chemistry, it's pigments, it's light, it's reflection, and so there's physics and chemistry concepts throughout all of these things, and so I'm totally open to using those gateways.
I know that wasn't sufficient time, but we gotta get.
Sometimes kids are like more interested in an instrument than they are in other tools. I mean, what do you want to do? Do you want to look at a clarinet, or do you want to look at a mooring tune?
I'll give you another 2 or 3 minutes. I know that's not sufficient time, but please, we'll give you some time, and then we'll come back and have some big ideas to see what you're hearing. What you're thinking.
Kids and having kids design an experiment. Which one is going to be test? What questions come to your mind when you see it? Okay, so tell me
I brought Axel with me on the last day. He was so good. He's good. He's lovely. But I went to some pretty interesting
Because it's a color.
and I actually took some of the lesson plans that I got
Just so you know,
and used it to justify getting really expensive cameras. So I was like, that was worth it just for that. So, and then I taught Oliver and I taught a course on.
That's nice, because they can see it, and then they can jot it down. That's right, because that way the books are like $3.
Oh, yeah,
What
they
did
do.
you, what did you go?
And if you just need a classroom set, everybody's got access to a computer. I mean, it is so rare. Even the Title I kids.
It's kind of scary. It is scary.
Well, and that's the thing, I skipped over it, but we'll talk about it again. Okay, let's skip over this. I want to add 2 things to this conversation before we move on.
It is. Because I can teach.
We're all over now. Waterfall. My Lee was being like, please don't.
Oh, no.
2 things I wanted to add to this before we move on and talk really fast. First and foremost, something I kind of glanced over really fast on one of these slides. Once these books are finalized and done, we will turn them over to our dual language immersion folks. They're the ones who have taken these books and translated them. And they do the complete translation. So in our old books, we have a few in German and Spanish and Portuguese and French. I think that's it, right? Anyway, so it's meant for the dual language immersion students in elementary especially that learn all of their science in their language, right? In their second language. But it's wonderful for teachers too. If we get them in Spanish, how many students do we have that would prefer to have a book in Spanish or potentially in French if they're coming
How
from?
about Chinese?
They've said they would,
Yeah.
they never have followed
There's
through.
plenty of Chinese immersion programs around the state.
Yeah,
We've offered.
again, we give it to all of them. We cannot pay for translation, but they generally have fairly large budgets, and so they're like, well, we'll do it, and we're like, well, then give it back to us, and we love you forever. So anyway, so the other thing to think about too is the fact that this is the first round of this book. I don't know how comfortable I feel with them, like, I would rather them start translating the second round, because really between round 1 of the book and round 2, there's some pretty significant adjustments. And they don't have the money to translate every year. And so if we get a translation, that will be the translation. And as we make changes in English, the translations will not follow. That is too much work for them to do. So anyway, I'll work with them and let them decide what they want, but hopefully we'll
They
get
are
them.
aware.
The other thing I wanted to go back to with this printing site, the great thing about this contract with Office Depot is that we can put anything we want to print on there. Some of you have seen in the past large posters of the cross-cutting concepts from someone created in the Jordan School District, created these great posters for the practices and the cross-cutting concepts. I've seen them all over the state. If there are things like that, we could put them also on the site. They're not the OER ones, but teachers can go order a bunch at the same time and order a bunch of prints and they'll get sent to you. Like, again, as an option if that's something you want. So if there are other things that the state creates that you would like, I would really love, or a nice bound copy of the standards, which I'm not a big fan of printed copies of standards, but I know people are. So maybe we'll have a section where if you'd like a printed version of the standards, here, 35 cents or whatever you want, I don't know. So if there are things like that you would like us to add to this, we could put anything you want us to print into this and you could teachers can click on them and order things. Questions on this before we move on? Yes, Amy?
Don't expect the dual immersion for next year.
No, it's up to them, and they get certain areas, like I wanna say Spanish and Portuguese, those groups are like really go-getters, and they wanna jump on it as soon as they have it. And so because of that, they might do it. Like, my preference for them would be like, the second version of this book will be 10 times better than the first, because we learn so much as teachers using it, we'll find errors in there, because again, this is written by teachers, so. But again, if they choose to translate it, they'll translate it. And as soon as they do have them done and finalized and we get them formatted, we'll add them for people to order those books too. Maggie?
Just to clarify too, those are not
The,
updated. Foreign language.
oh no, I said that, yeah. The foreign language ones are not updated every year because it's up to them to make the translations, so. Any other final big thoughts for OER?
Is there a way to put a link to the Google Doc instead of and the PDF?
Yeah, no, that's what we'll do. So right now on our website for our current ones, you have PDF, you have Google Docs, and then you have, so for the current books are available in those 3 ways.
Oh, they are, okay.
Yeah, so we'll do the same thing.
I will look again, because then teachers just use Google Translate.
Why don't you link these to the core guides?
So,
Because it seems to really give me as a teacher a tool and a resource about what I should do, how I should like be presenting it, and it's a direct translation of what.
right. So one pushback I might give to that is we have several teachers that look at our OER books and they think that if they just have the kids read this book, then they have met the standards, and that is not the purpose. Like, we make it very clear, these will only hit content to help support the doing that's happening in your classroom, the sense making and that kind of stuff.
You have this whole section on the practices, which I have another concern, like, it sounds like using this textbook and getting to the practices. I don't think that's the intention, but.
No, we never meant that in
That
any way.
front area is really strong there, but it gives me a sense of how to make a shift and how I should, what questions I should ask of my students and what types of things they should be looking at. It makes it concrete, so I don't have to translate a
Yeah, we'll look at that. I don't know if I personally feel comfortable with the idea of putting this into the core guide. I mean, I'd rather prefer like a resource page of like, here are core guides and here are OER books and here are links to district sites with their, I mean, like, I would rather that be a separate thing, but anyway, but I'll let the group think about it. Jane, go ahead.
What about putting the pieces of the core guide into this?
Well, because the core guide is meant for teachers and this is meant for students. This is not a teacher book, this is a student book.
Because I don't direct my teachers to use, I have them use pieces of this for their students or, okay.
Well, so the intent of this was to be a book for
I
students.
don't direct my teachers to use the OER textbooks as actual textbooks, okay.
Yeah, they're meant for students. That's how we write. Because we have teachers all the time that are like, when we're writing, they're like, can we add my favorite lesson here? We're like, no, this is for kids. We'll put that someplace else. Nate, Joseph?
I was just gonna say, in the core guide, you are though going to put phenomenon for each standard, right? And that's what we
Yeah,
created.
our hope, we put in one of our notes that we would just align to the OER phenomena, just to keep some consistency,
Yeah,
but then add more to it.
Yeah, that's.
It's a starting
we'll take
point,
that
but
when
again, that's
possible.
one per standard,
As
so we
one.
need that more.
I know that when I've used these textbooks in the past, and this is just like, anecdotal, I guess, is that the kids have a really hard time reading the graphs when they're printed because it makes them fuzzy when they're
Yeah.
printed, and it's black and white, and all the pictures on like the digital copy are not in black and white. So when you print them and they go to black and white or grayscale, if anything has like a contrast to it, it's just really hard to see, and then it doesn't really have anything to do with what they're doing in the
Yeah,
book.
so we do
that's-
have the option with
yeah.
these printers to offer the potential of printing these in color. Know that they would be 10 times as expensive, so instead of $3, they might be $30 or $40 a book. So I mean, it's a lot more expensive. If you have access to one-to-one, and you don't plan on kids actually using them as a workbook to write in, I would highly recommend just do the free online, get it to your one-to-one and use the books. Larry shared that in their school, they use the books, and they read the books and they get information from the books online, but then if they want to use the workbook part, they write in the workbook. So they have both, but they look at the color and have it. Rebecca?
I know that we're just using like whatever images are free on the internet basically, but there is a way to color things in color so that when they print in black and white, you maintain the contrast. I don't know the exact name for this like thing, but it's a thing that exists where you choose the colors appropriately so that when it prints in grayscale, it comes out still looking okay. And if there's like, money and talent somewhere for somebody to do that, then that would be like an appropriate, I think that would be.
And there lies the issue. No, I'm
Yes.
just kidding. Not the talent, but the money. Anyway, so I mean, we do our best to try to figure out to make this as cost effective as really where it is. But again, it's a service we offer for free, pretty much, so. Okay, that's it. We are already out of time. We should be on a break right now. Can I fly through this?
Yeah, I
Stay
think
with me.
this is pretty critical. I
This
think
is
we
really
need to-
important stuff, but we
Yeah.
gotta get caught up.
Yeah.
And then we'll go on a break.
They very smart.
And if you remember, I handed this out when you walked in, at least all you have, this is an implementation plan that we gave out after the adoption this last summer, right? They're over there next to Maven, he can raise them up for you if you want one. This is an implementation plan that we put together that was approved by the State Board of Education. It gives the roles of what a teacher should be doing to prepare themselves to implement the standards, what a district or charter school should be doing to implement these standards, and then finally, what it is that we at USB will be doing to help implement these standards. Notice in here that we have no control over your LEA, your district or charter school, right? So as you'll notice that we say that we suggest, and the board has approved in this yellow section here, that there should be a school or district/charter vision statement made sometime between now and next summer that states that all students should be taught science daily in grades K-12. I know, you laugh. But again, this is a recommendation from the state board, but all that is a recommendation. You can't go to your district or your charter board and be like, just so you know, the state says we have to do this. It's not true. We can't tell you anything. They'll be like, well, they can't tell us what to do. But it is a high recommendation we have for you. So if you wanted some leverage to be like, to get this going, to move more elementary science, and it can work in any way, shape, or form, say, well, it's highly recommended from the board that this occurs. Anyway, the purpose of this is to focus on this section It's the screen, it will not.
Oh.
Sign, phenomenon, hey, phenomenon, ready, phenomenon. Can you see this? This is
Yeah, you can see it for a
This
minute.
is fantastic. Anyway,
Weird.
so, like it, I'm gonna investigate that one. We're gonna look at this section right here. Where we are right now is in phase 2. And we're gonna blow this one up really fast, right? These are all the things that USBE said that we would do this school year. So we've already talked about the creation of core guides, we talked about the OER textbooks, we've been doing Lead with Seed, we'll talk a little bit about that. Creating updated content Canvas courses to help teachers with content in K-8, we were talking about that. Create video vignettes, let's go through these really fast. Lead with Seed, we have done 3 cohorts of Lead with Seed to this point. It has been very effective, we've had great response, we've seen amazing things happen in districts and charters, and as we've gone to those different areas, we've used these people that have had this training to help support us in the work that we do when we go to their districts. Instead of just saying, hey, can you come out to Emory and help us, we'd be like, well, let's see, do you have someone from Lead with Seed that has been doing this that can work with us, right? We did the same thing with Nebo, and anyway. So, please understand that we had scheduled a next round of Lead with Seed. This is the first announcement we're making of this, but
And we did not provide tomatoes or anything for you.
Yeah, right.
Came in.
please understand that due to funding, Lead with Seed that's scheduled to start in February has been canceled. We will not be able to run it, and the reason why is because the funding that we had that normally takes this much, we found is about this much. Meaning that we'd only be able to house and be able to run it for 40 people. We had over 100 people apply. It just seemed wrong to like somehow choose like you 40 get to come, and it just wasn't big enough anyway. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna postpone the next round of Lead with Seed to the next fall. So we're not done, we're just gonna postpone to fall, we'll probably start late summer
Yeah.
and do like we did last time. It's like, we also find that's a more effective time to do it anyway, at the beginning of the year where they're trying things out and they're starting new ways. Now again, I know that this is the first round of them actually using these standards in the classroom, but it's still, it's a better round. Please remember that Lead with Seed is not intended to train your teachers and give them professional learning. That is not the purpose. The purpose is for us to build leaders in your districts and charter schools, right?
That you
We
can
have-
then utilize.
The problem that we have also found that we have to try to find a way to eliminate is we have charters and smaller districts that are trying to just get like, we only have 5 teachers, can we just bring them all? And we're like, well, if you have 5 teachers, you can send 1 to become your leader. Like, our job is to build leaders, not to do your PD. So we're building capacity. So please think about that in preparation for this next round. If you have people in your district that are seen as leader teachers, right? Or maybe you have a district specialist or a part-time specialist or a teacher on special assignment half-time or whatever you have, right? Whoever that person is who should be coming to Lead with Seed if they haven't yet. That is the purpose of this, okay? And because it's really hard for us when we get like 25 people from some district and we're like, great, who are the leaders? And we can't distinguish that in the application. So sometimes we call those that we know, but we don't know what kind of nepotism is occurring. Like, this is my best friend, they should be going. You know, so it's like, please know that we want leaders to come to this. This is not a training for everyone. So yeah, well, hope is to get you to build people so you then could do this in-house. Yes?
Do the teachers that applied know?
They'll get an email today. They do not know yet.
If do they need to reapply in the fall?
Yeah, so they will need to reapply because the contract they've signed is that their principal has allowed them to miss those dates. Those dates are no longer the dates.
But we wanted to let you know first.
Perfect. No, that's
And
fine.
the reason why, I mean, while that could reach 40 people, with that same amount of money, we're thinking there's something that might reach more people, which
So,
is.
Normally, Lead with Seed generally costs this office about $70,000 to $80,000 for a round of 80 teachers to go through this. It is fairly expensive. And because we only have 40, like I said, that's maybe 40 people. With that same amount of money, what we hope to do is be able to then participate with this. With that money that we now would be using for Lead with Seed, we're gonna get teachers in to create these Canvas courses to help teachers with content.
Which is a big thing that teachers in elementary have been saying, we're worried about the content. So this will help alleviate that issue and provide you with support.
Right, so the hope is, what we found is when we first did our first round of 6-8 standards, we had people that were doing professional development within their own LEAs, And they're like, it's so hard because our teachers just don't know the content to be able to get them there. So to be able to do a 3-dimensional investigation with every teacher for every standard to get them there, it was just overwhelming. And so instead, the hope is that if we create these content courses, then they'll have some basic content knowledge to be able to move forward. So that is what we're hoping with, and it was pretty successful with the 6 through 8.
Yeah, it was.
How deep, you know, do you go into it? Because I think that I have discovered recently, as we've been doing our training, that they're deficient in basic concepts like density, for example.
Yep.
But I don't know, and Peggy and I are strategizing, and we didn't know this was even coming, that we might be able to break them down and find a way of doing it without making it overwhelming for them, so.
So the hope, just so you know, there'll be a first grade course for first grade teachers. The hope is to focus on the DCIs found in that grade band and the grades they teach, but also the next ones too. So we don't just hit them at the K2 level, we also wanna make sure they have the basic knowledge in the 3-5 level. And then for the 3-5 teachers to do them, so again, they're all online, they're all self-paced, they're not like.
I know that, but usually you have an idea, like when you take.
So generally what we give is for a strand that has 3 or less standards, right? We're assuming that they could probably get that done with about 2 to 3 hours per standard, depending on the teacher.
Yeah.
So because of that, based on those rules, a strand that has about 3 or less standards would be about a half USBE credit, which is about 8 hours of work, right? And then a 1 hour USBE credit would be about double that, right?
Yeah,
So
about 15, 16 hours of work.
And
So
and this is going to cost, or
Yep,
this?
it'll be free, it'll be available through, you'll sign up on UEN, and then they'll run it through our system, so.
Okay, and so it's unlimited enrollment.
Unlimited enrollment, as many as you want, as soon as completion is done, there'll be a way for them to get posted to Midas USBE credit for the courses they've taken.
I really felt like this would be a valuable resource at this time right now.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why we're
So,
making that shift.
so one more time, all of your teachers that have applied to us that are emailing us on a daily basis, have I heard, when is Leave With Seed coming? Can I hear about Leave With Seed? Am I been accepted to Leave With Seed? They'll all be getting an email, and then we'll probably get another bombardment of emails back being like, how dare you? Anyway, so
We're gonna
you're the first to
you
hear it, I guess.
know, so you can fill some of
I
those.
changed my wedding date so I could go.
Congratulations, you're free.
We're
So
having a time.
the next thing on our steps for implementation is to create videos and vignettes. It's something we have not had a second for, but potentially we are there. So in this section here, what we want is if you have outstanding teachers doing outstanding 3-dimensional work that you are aware of, that you think they would be a wonderful exemplar for other teachers to see this happening, right? We would love to get a camera crew in there to record them and get this on file. Now, please understand, in order to do this right, we need the teacher and the students. So in order to do this, we need to get your LEA's permission for a camera crew to come in and film students. We need parent permission slips all filled out for these kids. Like, there's a lot of paperwork that has to happen. And some of you right there be like, I'm out. And that's fine. But if you know this is something that might be a possibility to help others as we see videos of this kind of stuff happening, we would love to see it. So what it has right here, there's a sign up, another Bitly, woohoo. This Bitly is another form where you, as leaders, can apply for a teacher in your district to do this. Now, please talk to them first. Don't just like hey, Mabin.
Careful.
I'm gonna sign you up, and then we show up one day and you're like, what the what? So, so please make sure that there's communication happening here. I'm not in charge of that. But you'll notice the very first item on that question is like, have you already gotten pre-approval from your LEA to see that this is even possible? If no, get that approval and sign up later. That's like the first thing, because again, there's gonna be a lot of approvals that are gonna have to happen to create those. SSECC, in this section of the shared notes, if you haven't yet, SSECC has had many different roles and has worn many different hats. This is an opportunity for you to tell us what you think it should be. Do you want more time to work together and just for us to be quiet and let you work in groups? Would you like us to organize groups and you put them, like, here are the 4 areas, wherever you want to work, go to work. Like, what works for you to help you in the work that you're doing? So please use our shared notes to put that in there. And Scott left, so he can't even talk to this. But science assessments, there's always so many questions. What about the assessments? Will the assessments be ready? How the assessments? Assessment. I wish it wasn't as big of a thing that it happens to be, but it is. So AIR is currently working to make cluster-based assessments for grades 4 and 5 that will align to the fourth and to match what we have for 6-8. Those are coming. They'll be ready by this time next year for next school year. Pearson is working on creating 3-dimensional tests for the 9 through 12. Now again, this is important to understand if you're a high school teacher. The items will focus on, this is how they have it set up. Items in 9-12 will focus on the current 9 through 12th grade SEP, science and engineering practice, and cross-cutting concept progressions, current level progressions that should be happening in the classroom. But because they still will be focused on a 9th grade test no matter what science class you're taking, even if it's astronomy, right? Because every 9th grader takes this test no matter what science class they're taking, the DCIs will be focused a grade band lower in 6-8, which is, I think, an awful thing, but it's the best we could do. So they will be 3-dimensional, but they'll be based on content that they've already learned. Now again, it's not a content test, right? This is not going to be like, and what is the second phase of mitosis? They're going to be focused in 3-dimensional thinking and learning. So there should be a lot of context necessary, so don't be worried about that. The biggest fear about this is I don't want teachers to be like, well, I guess I don't teach my standards, I have to teach the 6-8 standards. Stop it. Do not teach to the freaking test. Please tell your teachers this. Teach to the standards, because we are here to test standards. The thing about this test, the Utah Aspire Plus test from Pearson, it no longer aligns to standards, as much as they say it does, and needs to based on statute. It doesn't. It aligns to prepare kids. It's a test to see how kids are prepared for the ACT, and that is it. So anyone who makes judgments on how a biology teacher is doing because of a 9th grade Utah Aspire Plus test is incorrect and wrong. That is not the intent of that test. If you hear that happening, have them come to me, because that is not a correct use of this test. This test has one job now, thank you legislature, and that is how prepared is a kid for the ACT. That is it. And if it's used for any other reason, the data cannot support that, because that's not what it's written to do. I hope that's clear. You can see I'm passionate about this because it drives me nuts. My hope is that Scott would be here to talk about benchmarks. Supposedly, however, these two groups are also creating benchmark tests that do align to standards,
Yeah, when I talked to
that
him
are
last year.
3-dimensional, and that a teacher in biology
Yesterday, sorry.
that a teacher in biology can choose to give their kids. It's not, you don't have to do it, but they can choose this as one of their summative tests. Clusters in 3-dimensionality, focused on the seed standards in biology that they can use to data to make sense of their own kids.
And it can be used
And it can be used,
in computation of grades.
yeah, because it's not a required test. Right? So again, you have to understand that you know what happens next Monday is a legislative session. Who knows, right? Because they seem to love to be like, oh, wait, you can't use tests for grades. And then next year, they're like, you can't use tests for grades or to help assign kids to future classes. Oh, wait, we're gonna back up a bit. You could use it for this, but not that. I mean, every year it changes, so wait for the target to change and we'll let you know come March when the session's over. So for now, the answer is yes.
For elementary, 4th and 5th grade, the benchmarks are not completed yet. They will be ready next year for 4th and 5th. So, and there is, I mean, there's no plan to make them for any lower grade. Yes, Danielle?
Next year March, next year fall.
Yes. When I talked to Scott about that yesterday, he said, we're planning on having them for next year, and I said, when? He said, as soon as they're ready. But the intent is to have them available at some point next year for 4th and 5th grade.
So please know also, because of how we test in this state, there is no current plan for benchmarks in K through 3.
Nope.
It's just not in the cards supposedly. So unfortunately, we're hoping and fighting for that to come eventually, but until then, that's where we are. We're out on a break that now should have been over 5 minutes ago. Let's give you a break to come back here at, should we say 10:30? If that's enough time.
And elementary will meet back there. We're
Yeah,
going to
thank you.
split. So elementary will be back there, secondary up here, okay?
And if you are both elementary and secondary, choose. how to split your body in half.
Do you know, Ricky, do you know when Scott's doing the next round of writing for the event, for the?
I think there's one scheduled for next week.
Cause I asked him and he said that he would send out an email through the listserv, but I never got one. And I emailed him and he was like, oh, well, it's too late for this round, but next, I don't know, I just like got weird conflicting like emails, messages and stuff.
So again, understand that, you know it's a different listserv,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I see his listservs and every now and then I try to forward them to SSECC, but I don't always. So I don't know
I just wanted-
he's the one, but he will be back. He had a call he had to get.
I don't know, he told me that like, I don't know, it was just weird. Cause Oliver and I were like, yeah, we'll do that, we'll come and help write test questions. And I emailed him, cause I know they came out and did training for us. And they said, oh yeah, they were having problems getting my questions. And so I just sent an email right then. And he was like, oh no, I don't really need any. I was like, it was weird. It was just weird, and I didn't know if he knew anything about it.
I mean, a lot of the times, like he kind of free fills spaces with people that he knows are good from the past, and then has a few extras. He tries to get new people in, and maybe those just filled up quick.
She was always very conservative. Jody.
Oh, yeah.
She should be at these meetings. But that's why it's just who I am. Just be Did you know who she used to teach there? She teaches her mom's house.
She actually.
Oh, really? Angela, she started a pack and I've got the troop. The troop is up and running.
I was like, when I got the email on Friday night about it, I was like, what? All of my. I don't
Say
know.
about charter schools, they just don't have the resources.
Yes.
We need time to convince our administration.
Because he was in Alaska.
Say, this stuff's coming.
Yeah.
It's softer than blood.
You know, and then we told meetings
Seed and there was a.
just like crying, and I'm just like, I can't handle this, you know, like.
He got one part of the application, and then the other part of it. And the top one was getting my. I've been this close to being fired so many times, but I do a lot.
Basically, who's a Mac person that gets up
It's not a great
keeps
situation.
running and halfway down
Handles
the
problems.
Why is that happening? How do I get it?
Try
But anyway,
preferences to get at home.
but she'll.
Go into your preferences and do your screen, maybe.
And then when it does this, by the way, like I don't even know what to press to get out of it.
And for that sort of cover this so I can meet other science people.
But it may be that you have hot corners.
I thought it was only being for your own time.
Hold on, it's tweet everything. Oh, look, we're getting the right here. But it may be that you have hot corners.
And I think just trying to like steel myself and prepare myself for like, you know, the media to basically tear that picture apart. Just be like,
If you want to shut more than that, Ricky, you'll have to rest.
Like, my principal, she's just, she hates me. So she doesn't like go off, get all, you know, whatever. I'm just like, okay, if so aren't gonna do it, then it's
So what will happen is I'll send them to the, when I apply when they're all done,
and say, you can't, you just do what they are.
You want to say, I guess.
She just hides.
So people ask you for
She
the
doesn't go
Spanish
out.
version of a book they
And
haven't
kids are getting
seen.
off the bus and it's like they're filming them. If it was me, like, if it was me, I would be out there like, I appreciate that you put a job to do. These kids, they're minors and they don't understand unless they're police just give them
Yeah, I'm not sure the answer to that.
you know, fine.
I mean, like, again, I can talk to them, all I do is I send it to Carl, and I say, here you go, and you do what you want.
No.
No pressure.
Like, there's nothing I can
He
do
is
about
the
what they
dual
write,
language
but I can at least use the results from the process.
I give you
She's like,
content.
oh yeah, the answer. And then like we would tell
Okay, remind me, because my head's spinning right now, as Melissa took the computer that was giving us screens.
How do you not know this is happening?
Wait for a minute, you rearranged the furniture, what's up with that?
It's what we do, it's what we do.
I was also gonna tell you, will you
No, email me.
okay, no, I will email you too, but
Oh, like he reads his emails.
Hey, shush, you do. In about 3 weeks after
Yeah,
they
I
come
know.
to me.
is that you were talking about how our LEAs or our principals should not be using Aspire data to do anything other than ACT preparation. Can you send an email to my principal saying that
Scott can do that. ECTs should not be
Remember my
used for
computer's not-
anything other than
Utah Aspire Plus
Utah Aspire
results.
Plus should be used to measure students' ACT preparation. That's all it measures. It does not measure
Because
standards, it
she-
does not to measure teacher effectiveness, it does not measure any of those things.
yeah,
Does
well,
measure growth.
well, my principal seems to think that we need to get our science scores up. And I'm like,
Yeah,
You
but
should get them up. I'm not.
but like but she's using it as a way to
she's
just
comparing Sage to,
yes.
yeah, that's bad. That's
Yes. She's like, oh, we were at this percent on Sage and this is and I was like, she's like, you guys, you science
like
are you're at
saying,
20%. You gotta and I'm just like,
For golfers in the world, it's like saying, hey, I shot a 35 down in Mulligan's in South Jordan. Pebble Beach should be a breeze,
Does that make sense?
yes, it does.
right?
I like that analogy.
I mean, seriously. One of the easiest things, the best, easiest kind of almost like correlative in real life is golf. We handicap a player, we handicap the course, we handicap each individual hole, so we know how difficult the holes are, we know how good the players are. We do the same thing in assessment. We know exactly what the proficiency of the kids are, we know the difficulty of the test questions, we know the difficulty of the test. It's all handicapped like golf scores. But you can't compare how they did on Sage in that percentage to how they did on Utah Aspire Plus unless you apply the student's handicap to that.
Yeah.
Which you really can't. It's an apples and oranges comparison.
It's just that my
on it.
principal
I know
is
because
like
of my handicap, I'm gonna have a bad day at Pebble Beach, cause I'm a sucky golfer.
So
But that's about all I can say.
is there a way to, let's say, after we've done this a few years, look at a school's Aspire scores and say, science has had this score for this many years as a whole, let's try something different because we gotta get this up, or, you know what I mean?
Potentially, yeah, but again, you have to compare Utah Aspire Plus to Utah Aspire Plus.
Right.
Right. The other thing too is, again, my hope eventually is that these same scores on Utah Aspire Plus eventually align to what the kids get in the science section on the ACT 3 years later, right? I mean, like, if we don't see that alignment, then we'll be like, well, great, what do we
And
do?
next year's a new beast, right? Cause next year, next school year, at the end of the year, we're gonna be aligned to seed.
order to continue to offer concurrent enrollment classes, we need to have the colleges that we're teaching them through get together and actually like align everything with on their end and ours. Because if I'm teaching two completely different things because I have to fulfill both requirements, that's hard. Because then,
I teach concurrent enrollment and regular biology, and I'm just gonna teach the regular biology, but I do concurrent enrollment.
yeah, and the same thing, I teach Bio 1010, it's like, okay, so do I make a whole new PowerPoint or do I just use the same ones that I'm already using? You know, and it's like, since I teach Bio 1010 and it's biology and the citizen, I'm like, well, I guess I'll just teach it like regular biology because these are kids that are in the non-biology, gonna be non-biology. This is biology for non-biology. So, you know, I'm looking at ways how can I make this relevant? But the thing is I also have to align with the standard, which is kind of weird, and then I have to like also do this, it's called breadth of life science outcomes for general ed assessments, and it's just like,
I don't know how much you missed if you're online.
It's too much, because if you're also teaching regular ed courses,
I'm gonna be providing you with some questions.
this is basically
And I
like.
just want you, since you're pretty much on your own anyway, to write in your answers to the questions here in the shared notes. Hopefully that makes
It's
sense.
like
If you could hear me.
there's so much complicated math, plus the syllabus process is awful. Because it's like, you can't just use the same syllabus that you're using in your regular classes, you have to actually like put it in this form, and it has to be sent off, and it has to be approved, and it gets sent back to you 15 times because you mistyped the percent or something, whatever. And it's like, right, is $3,600 really worth it? I don't know, because at this point, it's like, this is a full-time job.
That's what I was gonna ask, do our concurrent enrollment teachers get money out of
Yeah, they do, but if it's, so they won't next year, they will not be getting a stipend next year. It has to be built into the statewide, yes. And so I think that's gonna really lead my teachers in the direction. It's like, okay, so you're basically telling me I have.
That's 2 minutes. And yet, please start writing in some thoughts that you have into the shared notes. Please.
So like next year when they say.
What are we supposed to be doing?
Start writing in some of your thoughts from your discussion into the shared notes.
I mean, I have it, no, I don't, I have it.
I think I have
Or they're like,
I
don't think because it was like. Because it's like, I get like.
Ricky, did you want us to answer question 1?
Yeah, we're just on one stuff. So whatever kind of thoughts you have for question 1, put them in.
So
But I mean, I hate telling teachers.
I don't think they get your, I don't give them.
Why in the place? No. Don't do that. Who's doing that? Don't do that.
Click on that little line station down to 737.
Mike is jumping on the caption, it's never done that to me. I don't know why. When you let go, it's gonna jump.
They're crazy.
Just scroll.
My 20-year-old. Science, ecology,
Okay,
but that's his interest.
let's go on to the next one. Hopefully you've written something down.
Require for that course.
But I think it.
Okay, come back together. Number 2. The purpose of concurrent enrollment coursework is for students to earn both high school and college credit by taking courses that are equivalent in content, right, and rigor to what they would be getting at the university if they were taking the same course code. So if you are teaching a Chem 1010 class, you should be teaching exactly the kind of stuff they would be getting at the college level, right? So here's the question. How well do you think concurrent enrollment courses in your LEA are meeting this goal?
They're taking the assessments and use their assessments.
This is what I think. This is what I think when I taught. So it's been the teacher. It's just teaching concurrent enrollment.
It's the requirement. Yeah, I think that's
When I went to BYU.
Oh, no, don't do that.
No, who did that?
Go back.
Someone go back.
Undo.
Someone just took
Whoever
our
did
note,
that.
but like actually.
Control
The
Z,
U is
somebody
the
push
U
Control
is,
Z.
yeah.
Can anyone know? Oh my gosh, you guys.
I didn't touch it.
The great thing about Google is that we can always go back to changes and just undo what people did.
Yeah, undo the crossing out of everything.
You still have to take chemistry in the program at the university.
Okay.
It goes to a general.
I was not typing when that happened.
Oh, sure, well, I think that that's not, so, this is, I think what I have to say, the question is about like the rigor, is it at the, similar to the university? So when I taught, I had biology and chemistry, you always have a liaison with the university, which is that what you do?
I don't.
You don't, you sort of coordinator.
Other people in the department.
Yeah.
The director of the science.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Yes,
think you're.
but what I can say,
So,
what I can say
here's
is
what I
my
kinda think about
biology
it.
liaison
I
basically
think
did
that if
my
we're
job.
doing
She
concurrent
would
enrollment
come
classes,
once and then she'd be like, oh, I didn't have time to come,
I
and I
really
just
do
like write
think
something
that
down.
teachers
Can you just sign
at,
this form?
like,
or
high school,
whatever.
the high school
I
teachers
was
should
at
be teaching,
S,
like,
in the program.
not
She
professionals.
was fantastic and she would come and she would watch my lessons and give
But
me
that's
feedback
not
and like,
always
you
the
know,
case.
so we had a great working relationship. And if I had a question for biology or whatever, then I
class,
could
right?
contact
And then
her
they
and she would answer my
broadcast it
question.
from the university.
But the other thing
Is
is, so
these
like
kids
in
really
biology, so even though the
still-
liaison is different, we had a common final exam, like so everyone that taught
Yes,
biology
and the
tested,
problem is a lot of the
everyone,
professors at
all of the
university
concurrent
level,
enrollment,
they
everything,
don't have a
they
teaching
all took the
method
same
course. They
exam,
don't
right?
know
So in that sense, I felt like, yeah, we're absolutely
all they do
meeting
is
the
just sit
rigor
up there
of the
and
goal. The
talk,
thing that's
and then
different,
it's like,
the
okay
thing
guys,
that's
we're gonna have a
challenging for me
test.
is at the
And
time
that's
when we
it.
had the
Which I
CRT,
understand that concurrent enrollment is supposed to get
and
them ready for college, but at
the
the same time, it's
biology
like,
curriculum, I was teaching
these
human
kids are not gonna
biology.
take that.
So I had some challenges with, there's a whole unit on sexuality, like, that I was really challenging to teach in high school because there's laws about like what I can and can't say, but it's in the curriculum.
Well, and a lot of the college
And then
professors don't.
also.
Okay, if you haven't yet, please start writing back into this. It looks like we lost what we had last time, but
And it wasn't
that's
a
what we did with
test.
Google Docs.
And so then how are we, so then at the end of the year, I would like have a day and I'd be like, okay,
Always a
let's learn
certain
everything.
risk. And again, I went back to the most recent
You know
version
what I
and
mean?
this was it.
And then you would do CCT and it's like.
Hopefully we didn't lose too much.
See this with kids in my class all the time.
It's so frustrating.
I could see.
You can see there are about 70 people in this document right now.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, if you haven't, please start writing in your responses to this one. If you haven't yet.
Is there anything?
There should be. At least mine shows.
How well do you think CE courses
So just keep jumping around. Stop doing that. And that was me. Make a grand entrance.
What is this?
You know what?
I know, but I got
We need to, right?
SSECC. Thank you.
So you feel that more triggers there.
Okay, we're gonna have to speed this up. I'm loving the conversations, but we have too much to do. Next.
But it does go to a instrument.
This is where it gets fun, folks. Ready? Currently, there are 5 concurrent enrollment courses that count as foundation science courses. Based on the norms, that means they need to meet 90% of the SSECC standards. The state norms, like I said, need to meet 90%, so for them to count as both high school and college credit. Here's the question. How important is it to you then that we ensure concurrent enrollment teachers and higher education partners interpret the 90% rule to mean all 3 dimensions and not just content? It's a tough question.
Well, no, I mean, like, the universities don't want to be beholden to K-12.
100%.
These are their courses.
It's true, however, to meet 90%. So what I'm
They're
saying,
gonna walk away.
what we're going to walk here, folks, let's just come back together. Can we just come back together? These are great conversations, but I need you all in one place.
Yeah, they'll go away.
Oh my gosh, back of the room, look at me. Look at me, 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 look at me. Hi, Jane. She still hasn't looked at me. Hi. I need you all here. We're hitting at the point why I'm having this conversation. I would love a response of how this is important to you 1 to 5. Because as someone from the university is here in the room, you need to understand that this potentially could kill concurrent enrollment in science. And I'll tell you why. If we tell the universities that you have to teach 3-dimensional science, you know what they're probably potentially will do is say, then we're out.
Yeah.
You're not doing it our way, we're not playing this game.
Okay, I mean. Well, but isn't that
To
gonna hurt their
their-
bottom line, because that's how they get kids to go to their university.
All I'm
they
saying
get
is that this is the conversation we need to have, because right now it's on Ricky Scott. That's gonna be a future one, I think that's like, because by the way, we'll just speed this up. There are 9 concurrent enrollment courses that have to be aligned to elective. Elective courses need to meet 80% of the standards. 2 problems, we have no standards in elective courses. So I don't know how that's happened for the last 10 years. But still, they need, how do we want these also aligned to SEED, right? And then we get to this one too. With the new standards having been adopted, it's become a requirement that all CE courses get re-reviewed by me. That means that they're gonna come to me and say, here's our alignment to content, and I'm going to say, denied. Or I'm going to say, okay, we'll be okay with this. I need to know how you feel about this, and this is the conversation we're having. If we would have had the normal hour we were supposed to have for this, we would have taken this time, but I'm gonna get to the meat. Rebecca.
So I used, as reference, I'm at BYU now, but I used to teach concurrent enrollment in Jordan District. So I taught both chemistry and biology, and we were partnered with Salt Lake Community College. This is what I think. I think, this is my opinion. I think we should say the content
Will someone
alignment.
please take notes on this section?
The
for me?
content alignment is sufficient in terms of what the concurrent enrollment courses are gonna do. Because I believe that our teachers are going to step up to this idea of 3D learning, and they're gonna use that. They're gonna have skills that they're developing with the other courses that they're teaching, and they're gonna use that, and it will infuse into that CE course, and give students that experience as well. I mean, maybe I'm generous in my opinion of teachers, but that's what I would do if I were still teaching it.
So you have them, because they have to write out their alignment, right? So when they write their alignment, you're saying let them write their alignment to content, but push the teachers to teach 3-dimensionally.
The high school teachers?
The high school teachers, yeah. Yeah, we can't tell the university, there's no way you're gonna tell any university what they're gonna do, they're not gonna do it. So if you wanna have CE, which I think is extremely valuable for students, A, they get college credit, but B, it gives them a sense of what a college class is actually like. It is so important for them. Anyone who's going to college should take a CE class because they need to know what the expectations are at the college level. And so I think it's so important to our high school students' education that we can't do something that will allow it to go away.
I wanna ditto, just cause I'm in that phase of life with my own kids, while I think that 3-dimensional to our core standards, the high school standards, is critical that we make the shift because our students do need to be able to do science and think better that way. However, when they end up in college, it's back to the whole, typically, not all of them, right? They are making I'm seeing shifts even with my own kids at the university, but they need to know just because you did this in high school and you did these practices and it wasn't all about content, if they take concurrent enrollment class, they figure out it's different. And you have to understand what it's gonna be like, the reality.
Do I have any opinions in the contrary? I don't want someone to like feel like they're singled out, but at the same time, I don't want we have 2 voices that have said one. Is there someone that thinks the other way? Maggie.
I know I have, and this is on the other side, but I have had some of my teachers that are concurrent enrollment say, I teach concurrent enrollment, I teach all my biology the same thing. I don't need to do seed because I already, you know what I mean? So there's that.
I've heard that too, which is a scary thought also. Right. I've heard concurrent enrollment teachers say, I do bio and I do bio 1010. Just so you know, I do the same thing in every class. Right? That is a problem. And whenever I hear that, I immediately go to that university and I say, you need to look at this person. Because they've just admitted to me in this email you can read, they do the same thing in all their classes. Because if they do, that's a problem. So again, this goes back to a bigger, I have a lot of issues with concurrent enrollment, right? One being, I heard up here, it's a conversation about teacher preparation, right? Does a teacher really know how to change their teaching to be college other than what they've experienced? If they've never had, I know at least when I did concurrent enrollment, I had to go to this meeting and they told us these things, but you know what it was? It was the most awful PD I've ever gotten as they talked to me for 3 hours and it was awful, right? Like it was awful. But again, that's what they, a lot of times, like we said, expect these classes to be anyway, a big old lecture of content. So with that said, there's other issues that I've heard as I've gone to USHE meetings and I've met with deans from all the different universities, public universities in the state. They have major concerns and they're looking for reasons to cut concurrent enrollment. Some of their concerns include, why in the world are we forcing kids to take concurrent enrollment astronomy? Why is that even an option? Tell me what major needs concurrent enrollment astronomy, because this kid's gonna graduate, have college credits in astronomy that'll never help them towards graduation, but as they build up astronomy and all these other courses that are electives that don't meet graduation requirements, you know what happens? You have kids that in their junior year have 120 credits. Do you know what happens to Pell Grants and federal funding after 120 credits? They go away.
But this issue is around, there's a big push in Utah for students to have their associates in gen ed. So but that's not our thing to solve. And everybody comes in like, I have my associates in gen ed. It kills STEM degrees. It kills it, because like you need to soften your course load. You need a gen ed class with your 2 science and 1 math.
Absolutely.
At that, I mean,
'Cause
we
what you
can't
do, you
solve
do.
that. But then I think every university is different. At Weber State, current enrollment instructors at the high school level have to have their masters.
That's USU
Well,
too.
okay, but I'll say, that's written in law, they have to have a master's. Do you know how many people I've seen that have a master's in history, but they're teaching chemistry? Like, it's crazy what's happening in this world.
But it's also department dependent, so different departments, and like math is interesting because they do a level 4 endorsement to let folks teach the concurrent enrollment math courses. Science, each department, some that will accept the masters in ed, some will accept a master's in that particular science. And they review this, they're reviewing the CVs, and I don't have much say in it.
I don't know where I'd fall on this, like I couldn't give an answer, so I appreciate the importance of these courses, but also if it is just content aligned, I'm just thinking about teachers in my own district, they won't change their practice for those courses, and they will actually use that as an excuse not to change their practice for the other courses.
50%.
And the thing they'll say is, well, if this is what college looks like, I'm gonna be getting my other kids ready for that also, and we kind of had a discussion about like, is that a good thing, bad thing, whatever. But I just see like if we don't include some of the other Ds, that I don't have the faith that our teachers will like just adopt good pedagogy. Like
As you can see, the conundrum that I face, because this all is going to fall on my head to review these reviews, which scares the heck out of me. What I'm thinking I'm going to do, because we need more time, is to potentially call together a meeting, a council of sorts for people to come and help me with concurrent enrollment. We have 2 minutes before we need to head downstairs, so I need to go into our next section. Same thing, by the way, exists with science electives. Watch this. This is going to be fun. R27700, the rule that controls graduation, states that for science, kids must have 2 credits in foundation science, 1 credit from 2 areas, biology, chemistry, earth science, physics, computer science. They also need 1 additional credit from either that same foundation credit or from an advanced applied 3rd year science course, right? I really wish we had time for this. Very good. If you could choose 3 preferred courses that every kid had to take, what would they be? Can you think of what that would be? What are the courses that you think kids?
Not computer science.
Yeah, keep it going.
So if you want students to be successful in college and STEM, they have to have biology, chemistry, physics in high school. That's the best predictor of college success. It's not the 2nd year of biology.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the question. I think we're probably majority in agreement that the majority of kids should have at least 3 of the 4 main courses, right? So that leaves the question, any guesses how many other courses we have that kids can take?
A gazillion.
Well, and what I'm finding even right now as we're building our course catalog for the district is that high schools are asking for more additional geology, wildlife biology. I mean, just in our district alone, there's I don't even know how many.
65.
But like part of the reason that that exists is because right now the rule is you need 2 foundation courses and then 1 that's an elective, right? And people aren't assuming, oh, people wanna take another foundation course for an elective because that's not any fun. So we should have all these other courses that we're gonna offer. There might be interests of teachers who wanna teach, whatever thing they wanna teach. But if you have the requirement that they
A
have
lot
to
of it has to go down to the pet projects that teachers are like, I wanna teach anatomy, physiology.
That's what I was gonna ask, how much of this is based on teachers' educational experience, background, and all that?
And again, and maybe you have a teacher that teaches anatomy, physiology amazingly, right? And it's so engaging that kids are like, I wanna be in this marine biology class in the middle of Great Salt Lake.
Do it in their 4th year.
Thank you. So, agreed.
Yes.
So with this, here's the next thing. This is recent, this is hot off the presses. The Utah State Board of Education has recently required that all classes, foundation and elective, have state standards. This is coming, folks.
Whoa.
Every of these 65 courses are going to need standards.
Or do you have the option of picking which electives are available and then their standards written to that? Is that an option for you?
I have all the options right now. I just need to have standards. So here's the thing, CTE classes, a lot of those 65 are CTE classes that also count for science. They have standards. CE courses will get standards based on the elective courses that exist. Sometimes there's a CE class that already has a non-CE class. Make standards for these, CE can match them. Then for those who don't, there are some, it's weird, that don't have the regular class, but do have a CE class because it's offered at Weber State, for example, or BYU, or I guess BYU doesn't have concurrent, but UVU, right? So we want to offer this class. So again, my thought process, if we don't have a regular class with standards, it has to be discontinued. We're not doing CE for that anymore.
So
The next question, hold on, let me keep going. The next question is, how many science elective courses do kids need if we really want them taking foundation courses? Or how do we change practice? Anyway, there's so many thoughts. And again, with my mind, we were gonna spend time with this, there is not time. I think another group is going to come together to have this discussion. Because again, we're gonna have to do this.
So
We're going to
clar-
need teachers to come
just
together.
some clarification, so the big CE, CTE courses are all around the health sciences. There is not a lot of health science, human anatomy, physiology in the standards.
Right.
So do those go away
So-
when they
so
serve
that's-
such a
and-
huge purpose?
That's where I was gonna go. How do we integrate the three dimensions into elective courses, and how do we get DCIs? There will not be DCIs in a framework that hit this, because like you said, there is a DCI for anatomy and physiology. How do we break this into a class? So again, we have issues in this world based on the research and how we've done this. Folks, I will keep you posted. Look for an email from me in the coming weeks, potentially saying, hey, are you interested in joining my concurrent enrollment crew of awesomeness or my elective course of awesomeness, or both? And we'll try to make some decisions on how we move forward, but we will have to be moving forward because these things are coming sooner than later.
Is there a potential that the rule will change to say they need 3 years? Like, we're gonna specify chemistry, physics, biology?
We could force that would have to come from the legislature, so it'd be something we'd probably have to push in the legislative session. It's too late now, most legislative bills are already written and they have sponsors for next week. So there's no way it would happen this year, but we could look and start pushing something like this in legislature for the following year. Math did this. Math used to have a 3-year requirement, but now they were able to get the legislation to approve
3 + 1?
that if you plan on going to college, you must take 4, and you have to announce early if you're going to college or not. And if you do, then you must have a 4. And so anyway, I mean, if we can try to push, say, and science too,
Yeah.
again, there's so many things that we can talk about that are gonna be coming down the pike in a bit. Thank you for your time. I hope I didn't stress you out too much because I just wanted to share with you what's been going through my head. Secondary people, we are now going to head down to Basement West. We're going to join with the secondary math people. And we are going to look at U-Star and potential changes happening in this legislative session to that program. It's gonna be fun. Thank you. Those online, switch feeds to the basement feed and you'll join us too. Elementary people online, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe we'll have Melissa come in here and then you can hear them.
Oh yeah, you went to.
For those people who have never earned their STEM endorsement, you're creating the new science endorsement that they can then earn and then take the 3 additional
Yes.
classes.
Totally my fault. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, So, my friends, if you would go to that bit.ly.
Can I ask one more question?
Uh-huh.
Just to catch on to what she just said, the new STEM endorsement is a 3-course add-on
Yes.
to a math endorsement, to a science endorsement, to K.
A conglomeration of I'm taking 6 classes.
Okay.
3 in each and don't
Okay.
come out with anything at the end.
So, okay, so essentially that's what this is morphed into, where it's an extension endorsement.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's really an integrated, and research shows you can't really integrate if you don't have an understanding of the content. So that's the thinking behind this. You can't just jump into this because these are going to be going deeper into both. And it'll be interesting because there'll be some people in the classes with science, some with math, and we're hoping that that creates good conversations. Or you can go deeper in science or, so there'll be some various arrangements. Were you able to get to the folder?
Mm-hmm.
Within the folder, oh, no, we don't wanna go there. I'm gonna just exit out. So within that folder, you should see the 3 frameworks. Let me copy and get there. So you've got the 3 frameworks, the math framework, the science framework, and the technology and engineering framework. Then, right here, this is the overview that explains how this migration is going to take place, what we've just talked about. So will you take, we have about 10 minutes till lunch. So take about 6 minutes, kind of read through the overview and make comments. Oh, I would add this, I would change this, because we want to be really clear and we don't want there to be confusion.
On the 3 courses.
And then also look at the 3 courses just to get a general idea of the layout of them, because they look alike, because we're just looking at how are we integrating different disciplines. So, and what are your thoughts about their layout, okay?
Can I fix the link on that bottom course link?
Oh, no, I haven't put that in yet,
Okay.
because that reminds me that I have to make a couple of revisions.
Yeah, okay.
That's why it's still there.
Where do I find that bit.ly link that you just typed in, bit.ly
It
STEM?
was on the slide.
It's gone?
Yeah, it's like there's nothing in there.
It's just STEM endorsement.
Oh, maybe they took it downstairs, because we're downstairs for the
It's like number, did you just mean 108 more?
106.
106.
Keys.
That's good, cause I was like at 10.
Let me text Ricky, and I'll just ask him, where did you put the stuff that was left?
I didn't know we had to clear everything out.
I didn't either.
If you left anything in the other room, that other room is just bare
Bare.
naked now.
Naked.
I left my jacket and some other stuff in there.
Okay, let's see.
Migration.
Okay, can I ask you,
Oh,
maybe
wait.
you took a,
Otherwise-
Oh, I've got a text from Ricky, it says.
I wanna say sabbatical, but you
was
corrected
the-
me last time and I can't
she has
remember
a
what you
group
said.
in the north
Like my husband's back.
boardroom that
So
says,
it's a really
oh,
nice
it's on the
back.
STEM
And
table.
did you then
Um,
homeschool your kids?
as soon as
Because you
we
took them
dismiss,
out of school,
except
right?
So
at my
they're
office.
only kindergartner
So I'll
and
just
like
take you and
preschool.
we'll get it.
Oh,
Okay.
So
Unless you wanna get it right now.
So
Well, I
actually
just need my power
Chile,
cord
we
because
were
mine,
let's get it now then.
that's why
we were
I
only
left
like
it
in
the
the
way it
town.
was.
grab it now.
Okay, sorry, I didn't
6
know
weeks,
that
so
was
she did
clear.
like 5 weeks of, I mean, I guess we were there longer, but school didn't start until like the 2nd week of March, because that's like looking at the 2nd week of September for us,
Yeah.
you know, like that was the end of the summer. And so she went to like state funded preschool, it was like the town's preschool, and the teachers were awesome. I mean, she kind of struggled a little bit because she couldn't communicate with any of the kids, but she learned enough Spanish to know what to do and to follow along. And I taught some science lessons in her class, like using Google Translate, and the teachers would translate what I wrote, told the kids to make it make more sense to them. And then my other daughter was a kindergartner, and we couldn't get her enrolled in the like public school because of like our visas were just considered ones. So I homeschooled her, so like just half a day or a few hours while her sister was in preschool. Then we moved to Honduras and we put them in like an English speaking Montessori school. Like lots of the kids were bilingual, most kids were like, some kids were expats, kids, some kids were one parent was from Honduras, one parent was from some places.
Rachel, Rachel. Coleman.
I have to type out endorsement one more time, it's starting to look funny.
Okay, let's take a couple more minutes.
Okay. Okay. But then instead of like sharing it, I just gave you the whole folder we used.
Okay.
So after May 2021,
Awesome.
if they don't
Thanks.
decide to
Someday I'll put
convert
them on that
our
share
STEM
too.
endorsement to the new science endorsement, will just stay a STEM endorsement forever.
Yep.
Okay.
If you just work harder,
I know.
it would, you can
And
get
those
it done.
dates aren't set in
Yeah.
stone yet, that's kind of what we're getting feedback on.
Okay.
I'm like at this point right now where
But there needs to be a,
to be like,
I get it now.
stuff, does it ever happen to you, like?
we have this window.
I feel that way about my house sometimes, like,
Will there be
there's
like
things I could do, I just start from the ceiling, start,
a way
you know.
to
Yeah.
differentiate between like old STEM and new STEM and be like put little asterisks like they did extra work? Okay.
No, there will not.
Really
Truthfully, which is unfortunate, but
Yeah.
then again, you don't wanna discredit work people have done, so.
Do you think people would be really up in arms if you just converted all of them to science?
Yes.
Okay.
Teach you to understand.
Yep.
Explaining.
Yep, that's why I like.
That's why it's like, I'll give you this window that you can decide. But if you don't take the chance to decide,
Kinda like, use your words.
so here's your grace
So
period.
after May 2021, if they decide not to convert it to science, they can't take the 3 additional courses.
They can take them, they
Right, so I
just,
clicked on
won't get
this and
anything
it took me
different.
to just the notes, the general notes.
No,
That's not the book. It's the bit.ly, you have to type that into a tab. I won't even let me highlight it.
Hey Rachel, are you having a hard time getting in?
Well, part of it is I'm distracted, that's really the honest truth, I'm just kidding, and it's all Megan's fault.
It is my fault.
Megan!
I know.
I'm distracted too.
I'm sitting you on the corner, no, just kidding.
Like,
Megan
see
always
them on
has
an
good
email
stuff.
right now.
Hey, let's kind of come back together just for a minute, cause our time is, I mean, we adjust, right? We changed. What are, as you look at these documents, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Danielle, what are our thoughts?
I kind of would like to see them, because I was kind of putting them before, like laid out next to each other.
Yeah.
Because I can't keep wrapping my head around, like, does that one say the same thing as that one? Because I think that was one of the initial problems with the frameworks for the, like, our old STEM endorsement, was like a lot of the things were just repeated language, and then it just became, like, these don't really help me identify like what this course is about, like, and maybe not so much, but a little bit for like the, particularly the nature of science versus the capstone. So
Well,
making
and,
sure that like, it's actually like, this is to this course.
Yeah.
The point.
And these are all, there's a capstone built within each course. And so the layout is similar for all of them. And one of the things that Jolie Honey, who's my boss, was adamant was that there could not be a sequence. They had to be able to be taken in any order. So that, I mean, that adjusts how you envision teaching them. So they have to be able to be taught in any order, and you have to be able to jump in at any point.
To me, it just feels like it needs to be clear that because we're shifting teachers' understanding that a STEM endorsement is something you'd go and you get in a cohort and you would jump in and do, that now it's an addendum endorsement. It is something that you have to do after you've already been endorsed in a content.
And will you make these comments?
6 class.
So either put the comments on this document or go back and put them in our shared meeting notes.
Okay.
Because these are the things that we're looking for, we wanna make it really clear.
I would like a table, like.
Oh, a table's a great
Here's the
idea.
requirements, you have to have this or this, and then you have to take these 3 classes and then just have it, like a table. I think
That's a great
visually,
idea.
just looking at it, oh, that, I see what I have to do to get that.
Will you put that in as a comment?
Sure.
Cause I think that's a fabulous idea.
But I think it also shows that the STEM endorsement really is showing what we mean by STEM. Like that you're walking into this, having an integration of understanding of how these things work together.
Will you put that comment on there?
I'm trying to find, what page of the notes is this? What page is this?
A ways
Do you want it
down.
on the overview?
I would
27,
just,
27.
if you just wanna go in on this doc and change it to suggesting,
Do you want me to highlight and suggest?
Or view only.
oh, they're on view
Oh,
only?
Science Elementary Chem.
I would
change
I
that.
would put it on the notes,
I
the
see it.
SSE notes part,
It's
but
like
like,
26,
that might be just
right?
the easiest.
No, my.
Hey, my friends, I think, just so that
Suggestions.
we honor lunchtime and get you out of here for lunch, so you meet up with your peoples. Which if they left before 11:30, I don't know, they left early. Oh no, they went downstairs at 11 to meet with the math, that's what they did. I was like, why did they leave so soon? My intention is that we'll have a section of our time for elementary in the future. And really, my job is to support you and meet your needs. So will you email me? These are things that we would like to see happen. And we were gonna brainstorm and put them down here, but I don't wanna keep you. So will you email them to me and just say, these would be nice things to have on the agenda, so that I know what would best work for you.
Are you talking about for the next time we meet?
Mhm.
In
March. Which comes faster than I think every time. It's like, oh my gosh, it's already time. So email me with, these are the things that would be helpful. Because I wanna make this useful and not a waste of your time. Do you have any other major questions? It is 11:30. We have lunch from 11:30 to 12:45, and then we're meeting just because it's hard to go somewhere, get served, and get back in an hour. We found it takes about an hour and 15 minutes. We're all meeting together downstairs in Basement West for the final couple of hours of the day. So we'll be with all the math and all the science together. All right? Cool.
Say that again, what time then?
12:45. So you have an hour and 15 minutes.
So can we leave and with our little parking thing and come back, or do we have to get a new one to get back in?
You'll have to get you'll have to take a new one and just get it validated again. So just at the front desk, they validate it quickly, so it doesn't take very long. If you wanna take your stuff downstairs to Basement West, that's cool. But we do have to clear out of here. But just know that I'm here to support you and trying to make your jobs easier, so let me know what you wanna do so that we can do that, okay? All right, well, enjoy your lunch.
I'm really free in February if you're looking to meet up to look
Yeah.
at FOSS or what I do in FOSS when I train.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna tell you, my experience has been that if there's not ongoing support for FOSS, that FOSS sits in the back of the classroom. This is so overwhelming, and the teachers, most teachers aren't gonna give it the time to
They're just ready to head out?
get a hold of it, and it's gonna take, like, the way that we ran it at football, there was accountability, so they had to teach it, like, and they were expected to teach
wants to write a 5th grade TPD for me.
Right, but let me know. So I've had like, say, 5 or 6 say that they're gonna get a varying amount of kids for
Okay, well,
and so
I'm gonna go
but I
plug in my
agree, like, I
computer
hope
at my